Three divine beings stumble upon a mysterious baby boy, crying in the forest, left behind beneath a blazing, glowing light. They call him Will, and every last one of them swears they'll train him, magic, healing, and combat included. Years later, Will rips across the forest on a gigantic wolf, panicking as he bolts to outrun the danger chasing him. As Will and his wolf Schultz sprint for their lives, they suddenly feel it. Some ruthless, heavy-hitting enemy creature is hunting them down. A massive ogre barrels toward them, and Schultz has to scramble out of the way fast while Will lines up a counterattack. A furious ogre shrieks and roars, its monstrous roar cracking through the forest like thunder. Will rockets up the tree and snaps at Schultz to pull the ogre's attention from below. Schultz launches forward, taunting the ogre into a full chase, slipping past its hulking club as it swings wide, right into the perfect opening with sword yanked free. He charges the beast, raging that it shattered the forest's peace. He dives from above and drives his sword straight into the ogre's head, landing a blow so precise it's instantly lethal. Thou wounded, the ogre snarls and swings back, only to miss, and then it sets up a brutal finishing strike. So we move in with razor speed, one sharp swipe right through the ogre's neck, and boom, the threat is gone for good. The ogre crumples to the ground, stone dead, while Will keeps his cool and strides in, sword ready in his hand, as Schultz watches in tense silence nearby. Deep in the forest, Will summons healing magic and nurses an injured rabbit back to life, right there with its friends watching in awe. The grateful rabbit snuggles up to Will's cheek, nipping at his gratitude as Will beams softly and gladly accepts with open warmth. Schultz leans in and tells Will, sword practice is waiting. Today's training is all about mastering the water current technique. Link glances at the clock, blurts a quick goodbye to the forest creatures, and sprints toward leaving. Will barrels through the forest, vaults over rocks, and then lands on Schultz's back in one unstoppable leap. No hesitation, no delay. Riding fast triggers his memories, an orphan with a grin, rescued and raised by legendary gods. Even with war and famine tearing everything apart, Will's true origins are still a mystery, lost somewhere in a far-off tragedy. A tiny baby helplessly drifts down the river in a small wooden boat, crying into the wide, open sky. A cloaked stranger spots him, then disappears into thin air, right as a colossal eagle swoops down to snatch him away. A mighty eagle snatches him up and drops him at a highland sanctuary, where sword, health, and magic gods rule the heights. Table Mountain, the home of gods, becomes his cradle, guided by Reuse, the god of omnipotence. Will finally makes it back home, and warm smiles hit him like a wave. He grins right back, holding on to the truth he was raised by gods. Ronan showed up late, snapped at his students about their timing, and already knew, thanks to the ogre's earlier appearance, what was coming next. Miriam's firm resolve eased the moment she braced herself, praising his effort, while everyone else argued about who really trained him best. Training right sparks into a heated argument, but Ronan slams the brakes on Miria's gentle healing plea, saying sword practice is next. Tensions skyrocketed when all three gods shoved forward, each demanding their turn, surrounding Will as their lesson demands collided and overlapped. Temptation crashed into the scene, and Ronan dangled a prized dagger in front of Will, using it like a weaponized promise to push him to deliver today's performance. With a grin on his face, Will agreed to train, totally oblivious to the jealousy simmering right behind him. A gigantic stump smashed into the dirt with a thunderous thud, and just like that, the new training task kicked off. Ronan laid out the objective in plain words, then drove his blade straight through the stump with razor-controlled pressure. With eyes locked in, he unsheathed his blade and let a surge of overwhelming power coil up. Then he unleashed his perfectly honed technique. That powerful slash cleaved the stump in one clean cut, and the shock from it slammed willpower into place, boosting sword mastery with every jolt. With a burst of adrenaline, he stared down that stump, desperate to prove he was training worthy. His blade ripped through the air with raw energy, but his move slipped, his technique came out messy, and he had to scramble fast just to land something. Frustration surged as he studied his father's every move, fighting to picture the exact sword stance in his head. Pressure crushed down, then clarity snapped into place as his grip sharpened and power surged deep within. The strike detonated a sudden burst of power, blasting the room apart and leaving everyone stunned by its brutal destructive force. With a nod of approval, Ronan, still a bit stunned, gave Will the reward for his brutal, powerful effort. The promised dagger finally appeared, sharp, finely crafted, and gleaming, and as Will tore off to show Schultz, pure excitement burst in his chest. Even though Ronan demanded a clean cut, he watched the stump get totally pulverized by Will's explosive swing. Fueled by pure excitement, Will proudly flashed his weapon like a trophy, while the others stared, their curiosity sharpening by the second. A solemn priestess drops to her knees before the divine gate, whispering prayer into the air under towering statues of the gods. The Earth's great mother goddess hears that prayer and answers with a blinding, wordless divine oracle. Luna Maria grabs the oracle's message and realizes she has to race to the sacred mountain of the gods. Meanwhile, a young warrior hammers away at relentless training, swinging a massive fruit into battle to smash monsters and prove his strength. Standing there like he belongs beside the divine beast, the boy opens a letter, and you can feel fate closing in. Will hands Schultz a magical fruit, and they sink into a calm, cozy meal beneath the softly glowing dappled forest canopy. A soft breeze slips through the trees, while Will and Shoal soak in nature's quiet peace. Schultz watches Will grow in front of his eyes and realizes the truth: this kid, about to leave the mountain soon. Clinging to Father Rayo's words in his heart, Will swears to follow his destiny. He's going to descend the mountain and become the savior. Heart heavy as he leaves, he decides to shoulder the weight, because this world needs someone strong to stand and protect it. Schultz leans in and reassures everyone the mountain's power is real, because fierce beasts and gods stand guard over it, faithful and unshaken. Will snaps down Schultz's demand to follow, saying Weiss still needs him. They walk side by side one final time, and you can feel the weight in their chests as they brace for the farewell that's creeping up fast. Schultz thanks him sincerely, and as he pledges he'll come back one day, Schultz pulls him with memories of home. Schultz snaps to attention as intruders creep toward the mountain. This forbidden place is suddenly getting its fate sealed by outsiders. The moment she focuses, everything sharpens. She digs deep into her senses and snags faint vibrations that no normal human could ever catch. Odd, eerie beats echoed through the forest. Then a squad of armored men charged in, hunting someone who was clearly falling apart. Will didn't hesitate. He snapped orders to a bird messenger and sent it straight to his parents to warn them about the danger creeping up below. Schultz studied the clues inch by inch, watching her heartbeat stay steady, like a calm drum, so he knew she probably wasn't the danger. With iron resolve, we mounted Schultz and surged forward to stop any harm from catching the desperate stranger as he fled. Luna Maria bolted through the trees as the soldiers barreled in from behind, closing the distance fast. A gleaming blade snapped out of its sheath, slicing through the air with raw speed and pure hostile intent. With armed men closing in on all sides, she got boxed into a corner, and the leader snapped a ruthless ultimatum that chilled her to the bone. Her resolve didn't waver. She declared her life was for the gods, not for dirty hands. When they questioned her, the attackers sneered back at her, laughing off every demand and refusing to name who ordered this brutal pursuit. Blades crashed together in wild fury, while soldiers jeered at her faith and cornered her with cruel questions for the goddess she swore by. Without a single pause, Luna Maria shot forward and smashed her fist into the lead attacker, right as he was about to strike again. Infuriated by the resistance, the last soldiers barked orders to swarm her and wipe her out, drowning her in numbers. Even while exhaustion clawed at her, she dug in and held the line as blades crashed down around her, bloodlust surging from every side. Right before that hit crashes in, he'll look unnervingly calm, steady, ready, and poised to flip the whole fight in an instant. Luna Maria whipped around as a boy stepped out of the dust, shooting her a calm, steady question about how she was doing. Soldiers froze in place, totally baffled, because a kid stood right beside him, and then there was that enormous divine beast looming too. They don't back off, they sneer at the pair and ready their strike, set to wipe them out on the spot, no hesitation at all. With no fear, Luna Maria stepped in and promised, "We'll save her," then beamed as she called him Lord Hero with absolute certainty. With a calm voice, he warned them, "This sacred mountain bans outsiders, and justice will soon come crashing down on any trespasser." Will threw out one last way to back down, but the soldiers surged forward with pure blind rage and brutal violence. Instead of running, he studied their armor like a lockbreaker, pinpointing exactly where he'd smash through their unbeatable defense. He struck the commander with razor-sharp precision, smashing through his guard and sending the enemies flying across the clearing. Confusion crashed in the moment his figure disappeared. Soldiers panicked, totally blind to the fact he'd already taken out another soldier from behind. Schultz finished his assault in a single breath, then calmly called it victory, while bodies crumpled across the battlefield. Luna Maria flashed a graceful smile, thanking him, and then Will leaned in, couldn't help asking what Lord Hero really meant. Straight-backed and sincere, she stepped forward and declared, "I'm Luna Maria, priestess of the Earth's divine mother goddess." They'll recall the teachings of blind priestesses, raised in total purity to serve ancient deities that bless the land. She sealed her divine mission, she had to climb this sacred mountain and find the child raised by gods. Even with her confidence, she awkwardly shuts down the title, staring at the whole mess like it doesn't match her expectations, while he looks like he just can't get a single mark. Luna Maria doubled down on the prophecy, sure as her heart that convinced Will was the chosen force meant to tip the scales between light and darkness. She dropped to her knees in pure faith, clinging to the goddess's oracle even as his doubts raged, and the world around them erupted into chaos. They checked the fallen bodies and realized the attackers weren't random at all, heretics, sent to stop their destined meeting. Schultz sniffed the air with sharp caution, because one whiff of danger would set off the warning and lock everyone in high alert mode. Just when he thought it was over, hidden enemies struck again. Arrows tore through the air from the trees as a mysterious man watched, clearly fuming. Calm as stone, the mysterious enemy snapped his magical gauntlet into action, vowing he'd personally kill them, no hesitation. Luna Maria blared in panic, shouting that this weapon carried power so dangerous it couldn't be brushed off or underestimated. Will told her to stay behind, but she refused to budge. She insisted on charging in at his side without a single doubt. He snapped her out of the mix-up. This wasn't the swordsman's threat at all. Something far worse was closing in from the distance. Shadows crashed down from the sky, and with them came a monstrous thing that haunted the soldiers, turning that sacred ground into total chaos. A colossal red-scaled beast slammed into the battlefield, the ground roaring beneath it, and soldiers scattered in pure, panicked terror. Their faces went white with shock as everyone finally recognized it. A crimson dragon, ancient, terrifying, and overwhelmingly powerful. A colossal dragon crash-landed onto the battlefield, and pure terror ripped through the ranks as soldiers scattered in every direction under its crushing shadow. Even though she couldn't see a thing, the girl could feel the dragon's raw power in her bones, and she blurted out that its strength was something truly divine. The dragon strode right up to the terrified soldiers and locked eyes with the crew that had crossed into its territory. The beast went hunting for revenge when the knights, deep in dragon territory, recklessly stormed a nearby nest during their march. Terror gripped the soldiers as they loosed their arrows, torn wide between duty and whatever destiny the priestess was about to face. Arrows flew like a storm, but the dragon's unbreakable, hardened scales turned everyone to nothing. One soldier hurled a magic weapon at the creature, but no matter how hard he struck, its armor wouldn't give. The dragon loomed there, totally unbroken, its stare never wavering, while raw power churned and flared inside its glowing throat. Fear slammed into the knights, and the moment they sensed death was seconds away, they broke and fled in sheer panic. As the dragon looms to strike, Will yell at Luna Maria to back off and wait. The dragon roared and blasted a massive torrent of fire, flames spiraling straight toward the fleeing knights with pure, deadly force. Scorching flames tore across the battlefield, devouring trees, armor, and terrified screams in a blazing, blinding inferno. Now one surviving knight shook with shock, frozen in horror as he stared at the wreckage, his dread rising by the second, refusing to believe his eyes. He'll burst out of the smoke, hauling wounded soldiers behind him, and the sheer calm strength in his hands will leave everyone stunned. He warned them what the forest would become, begging them to run back before the dragon's fire swallowed everything whole. As the dragon's wrath swelled, 2 soldiers got blasted off their feet by a brutal shockwave. He steps right into the beast's path, grinning like a menace, and boldly declares, "I'm your opponent." Doubt surged through the survivors as they stared at that lone boy, terrified he might actually face down that kind of monstrous power. Luna Maria snapped out in alarm, but Will stepped in to calm her down, grinning like he already had a secret plan locked and ready. Stride forward, blade raised, staring down that towering dragon head without flinching as it presses closer, and he advances steady through sheer nerve. The others held their breath as Will stood alone, his blade blazing with a quiet, razor-sharp focus. Channeling his training, he'll blend sword art with enchantment, forging a lethal spell and an even deadlier enchanted dagger. He hurled powerful words into the air, weaving wind and ice into one brutal, earth-shaking strike. Dove straight at the dragon, blasting a freezing wave that slammed the fire, and time right to a halt. The dragon's flames slammed into the air and froze instantly. Its roar died halfway, as frost swallowed its monstrous throat. Mountain-high ice blasts rocketed upward, trapping the roaring dragon in a heartbeat and choking out its fire. Gasp's warriors and priestess watched in awe as Will's last sweeping strike brought the frozen behemoth crashing down. Cracks spiderwebbed across the icy statue, limbs and fangs snapped off like glass, proving the prison had been defeated from the inside out. Eyes bulged with pure shock. How could that colossal monster vanish into nothing but glittering shards? Retreat erupted without a beat of hesitation. Fear crushed their pride, and soldiers fled the battlefield, whispering in shock about the mysterious Lord Hero. Her hands shot up to rip the blindfold away, and there, behind all those hidden years, she revealed a calm grace that looked straight out of a miracle. A sweet smile spread across her face as she introduced herself again, stepping forward like her divine duty had lit the whole world up. Her eyes lit up with hope as she inched closer, whispering, "What's your real name, warrior?" Will flashed a soft smile, proof he was born human, but raised by gods from day one. Even with doubts gnawing at him, he leaned in as the priestess unveiled destiny, crafted by a long-forgotten oracle. She stayed calm and confessed she was blind, then explained softly that she couldn't verify his mark. Even after her sacrifice, she didn't break. Her devotion to the goddess burned so bright there was no room for regret. With a heavy sigh, he leaned in beside the wolf, quietly recognizing her resolve without needing to say another word. She blindsided him again, reading his exact moves through tiny shifts in the wind and the faint sounds only she could feel. Curiosity sparked in her voice, and she teased him for hitting the battlefield earlier with those flashy moves. Luna Maria stood her ground and promised her training would be relentless, so she wouldn't slow him down once the next battle started. With a calm voice and shining hope, she leaned in and begged him to team up with her to save humanity. He stopped beneath the trees, stunned, because his escape plan for the mountain was already set to happen any minute now. Memories of his divine guardian crashed back in, and it hit him how painfully unwilling they'd be to let him go. A wild image blasted into view, his overprotective gods throwing a violent tantrum over the very thought of letting him travel. Luna Maria vowed she'd win divine approval herself, proudly declaring that she'd serve him as his most devoted underling. Together, they pushed forward, striking out toward Will's divine guardians, but neither of them had any clue what horrors or miracles waited just ahead. Right before they set off, he halts in shock. Surprised, she decides to slide the blindfold back into place. When she heard his honest words, a soft smile spread across her face. She agreed to show him her eyes if he wanted. Caught off guard by her kindness, he fought to hide his blush, shocked to feel something he'd never felt before. Hand in hand, they stride ahead into the divine realm, where Will's godly parents are waiting. A tiny bird shot over and spilled the news of their approach, waking the gods with bright, urgent energy. Inside the sanctuary, divine tension snapped through the air as Will's guardians geared up to decide, right there and then, whether the girl was worthy of judgment. Will and his crew finally reached the gods' mountain palace, and every last one of them froze in awe at its sacred, jaw-dropping grandeur. Inside, a lone dining hall sits waiting, fully set for the long-awaited reunion with their divine mentors. Two terrifying gods materialize in front of everyone, their sheer presence rattling the air, their faces unreadable, but the intensity is impossible to miss. So the goddess strides forward, divine power roaring through the air, and her staggering spiritual pressure crushes everyone's breath. As sacred energy surges down the corridor, the guests finally realize these deities truly earned their power. Will strides in with a low bow, apologizing to the maiden who serves the goddess, fully owning that his uninvited arrival was wrong. A stern god steps right up to her and demands, face to face, what she's really planning as she closes in on the chosen one, because she won't let this slide. She calmly lays out her loyalty, spells out her true goals, and shuts down any talk of trying to seduce him. The goddess explodes with fury, slamming down every attempt to rip away Will's loyalty or his divine calling. Tension spikes as everyone erupts in chaos, arguing about kisses and love, while the maiden's true devotion gets completely misread. Blushing, Luna Maria confesses that if we truly want it, she'll accept anything, because it's him we're talking about. Under the sacred trees, their closeness deepens fast. Luna wraps her arms around Will, and warmth and emotion surge between them. The goddess erupts in pure fury, refuses to let Luna Maria stay, and slams the door on their romance like it's completely unforgivable. Up above, a dark-feathered crow perches and stares as the elders snap at each other, mocking every spark of romantic tension brewing in the air. With one thunderous flap, the divine crow braces to step in, like the whole world just took a sharp turn in the air. Will leans in and reveals the divine crow isn't just listening. Reuse, the god of omnipotence, is watching from above in silent, unshakable power. Rio fired questions back at Luna Maria, "What are you really planning?" And she finally confirmed she genuinely wanted to leave the mountain with Will. Luna Maria makes it crystal clear. Her job is to stick beside Will, help him explore the world, and guide him until he truly understands it. Luna Maria choked back tears as he finally called her his first real human friend, and begged to have her by his side for the journey ahead. Even with protests flying, Ryu finally steps back and lets Will decide, respecting his right to choose. Even with Will hesitating, his guardians fired warnings at him, telling him the world is brutal and refusing to let him leave. Luna Maria boldly promises to shield Will from evil, and when God strikes back, she meets it head-on with pure determination. The gods throw down a challenge, and this pair has to survive a brutal trial just to earn the right to travel. Even with the divine threatening her, Luna Maria nods firmly. She signs on with confidence, and she's ready to prove her resolve. Will and Luna Maria lock in their vow, survive the trial together, and march forward side by side. Ronan, half joking, goads the elder god to start with something tricky and test the young pair right away. First, he dives into the challenge. Then the elder snaps his magic and summons floating cups of shimmering, enchanted water. Will grabs the cup and dashes from the mountain to the cedar, carrying it all the way. You get 2 hours, and one wrong move means spilling a single drop, because speed doesn't decide it, precision does. Luna Maria steadies Will, tells him their training is ready, and the two of them team up to push through the trial. The gods slam their decree in place, declaring the trial has begun, and they swear they'll be waiting for Will and Luna Maria at the finish line. Will strides ahead with a cup in hand, while Luna Maria trails behind with a steady, laser-focused calm. Worried sick, Luna Maria quizzes Will about his speed. Terrified their sacred water will slosh right out of their cups. Stunned by how calm the water stayed, she notices it moves with her in a gentle rhythm, never panicking, never flinching, even when everything speeds up. They snap their hands together in sync, and surge ahead as one eyes blazing with pure determination and the same burning goal. We tell them to slow their pace to save the water, and Luna Maria nods with real gratitude. They stride on with steady confidence as woodland animals rally around them, but the ticking clock starts creeping in, silently tightening the pressure. Luna Maria admits she can't speed up without spilling, and Will has to slam on the brakes in his head and rethink their whole pace. Staring at the battlefield, he spots a riskier shortcut that might just smash his way into the time limit. Determined as ever, Luna Maria bites on the shortcut, gambling everything on success and dodging safety to make sure she doesn't fail that trial. Will thrusts his hand forward and helps Luna Maria power through the rough, rocky shortcut trail in the forest. Exhausted to the bone, Luna Maria hits her breaking point, and Will jumps in fast, insisting they take a breather. Will steadies her with a soft voice, realizing the whole trial is meant to shove Luna Maria past every last limit. Will brags that his stamina wasn't luck. It was forged in childhood training with animals, and he's damn proud of his endurance advantage. Luna Maria's face burns as she remembers being told, "You're my friend," and her heart races at how suddenly close they've become. Luna Maria beams at him, whispering that being Will's friend is the biggest honor the world could ever offer. She flat out declares nobody stacks up to Will's strength, not even Dragon, and the Slayers themselves can barely measure against his raw power. A wild idea hits them. Why not ride a dragon to slash their travel distance in half? Meanwhile, the goddess takes a slow sip of tea, eyes sharp, because she can feel the trial's ending closing in. She playfully snaps at the elder god, calling out his impossible challenge, like he just wanted to see whether they'd crack. The gods admitted Will could have finished the task solo in a snap, but Luna Maria swarmed in and made everything way harder. The goddess can't stop picturing that emotional reunion with Will. She's already ready to tackle him with hugs and pour out praise like it's endless. Vandal doubted the whole outcome, but the elder's hint still ends up hitting harder than anyone expected. With grit in their hearts and teamwork driving them, Luna Maria sprints straight for the finish line, water held perfectly balanced. Will proudly announces their win, leaving Vandal stunned, because he never thought they'd actually finish it together. Vandal's jaw drops, Luna Maria sprints the whole way, and he realizes he totally misjudged her grit and stamina. Suspicious, the gods demand proof. After that insane arrival, they want to know if a single drop of water is left. To everyone's shock, the water is frozen solid inside the cup, still there, unmoved and totally unspilled. Will cleverly harness dragon and freezing magic, turning the whole challenge into a high-speed test. Even with that nod of approval, the elder still makes it clear. The cup isn't done until it's handed over. Will channels his magic with intense focus, then starts bending the water in both cups like it's obeying his every command. The old man takes a sip of the transformed water, gives a proud nod, and blurts out that this is unbelievably well done. Will and the girls follow the instructions, then they crush the first trial side by side. Then boom, Ronan, the warrior god, crashes onto the scene and declares, "Now you've got to survive the second trial." A colossal blade slams into the earth, and just like that, the God of Swords challenge kicks off. A colossal magic circle snapped to life, roaring with energy like it had a will of its own, while Luna Maria and the others braced in shaking anticipation. Vandal slammed his towering training golem into place, shouting that the next brutal trial was moments away as everyone tensed up for the fight. A swordsman sets Vandal's towering stone golem in front of them as the ultimate test. Then Will and Lunamaria finally react. They fall back to map out their next move, and Lunamaria jeers at the challenger, saying he's nothing but a simple-minded brute. Will grinned with total confidence, convinced this challenge was fair, and ready to beat it together, side by side. The swordsman clamps down on brutal rules. Only his sword lets him even face the golem, and nothing else counts. Will challenges the rules, then shrugs it off. Sure, his sword won't change his odds anyway. He chooses to believe. A sudden announcement erupts, declaring the priestess as the only one permitted to take on the golem. Will's jaw drops at the restriction, and meanwhile the swordsman presses the priestess to prove what she's really capable of in a true fight. He smirks, wondering if that priestess even knows how to swing a sword the right way. The priestess silently slips her hidden blade free, calmly saying this sword training is her sacred duty. She cuts through every doubt by flashing her blade, and when the swordsman nods and takes it, she watches him mock her for overreacting. The swordsman sneers at how brutal the trial is, and the others snap back that her followers must stand guard for Lord Will. Lunamaria steels herself and charges ahead, shouting that she'll take on the challenge with every last ounce of strength. Will freezes in place, watching her in silence, aching to help but trapped in what to say. She swears she'll win in Lord Will's name. Then the swordsman raises his arm, and the match is about to begin. With a sharp snap of his hand and a thunderous shout, the fight finally kicks off, right as the charging golem barrels toward them. The golem slams down like a wrecking ball, and Lunamaria darts aside in a blur before charging straight into the fray without a second thought. Lunamaria barely dodges a crushing hit, snapping out of the golem's strike on instinct and pure momentum. People say she's blind, but she hears every attack coming, then darts out of the way with razor-precise moves that leave everyone stunned. Lunamaria steels herself to strike back, because she knows dodge alone won't cut it to clear this trial. She rockets forward and slams in, yet the golem's body is rock solid, and her hit won't even scratch through. Lunamaria keeps slamming in attacks while weaving through incoming fire, and with every shout from Will, her determination only burns hotter. After wave of attacks slam into it, the golem still stands untouched, so Lunamaria starts to doubt herself, wondering if she's even making a difference. Vandal admits he might have outclassed the golem, even though it was originally branded as weak when it came to magic. At Strength Rivals level 10, the whole truth finally explodes into view, and it's way stronger than anyone ever expected. She can't snap joints like that, but her sword flares with holy magic. Maybe that's the key. Will offers to help Lunamaria with holy buffs, but the magic won't touch magical constructs, like golems. With sheer grit, he's set on hurling support magic from a distance to keep Lunamaria standing strong in the middle of that brutal fight. Suddenly, a brutal slash slices through the air near him, and it slams the brakes on his magic attempt with a terrifying warning. The swordsman shuts down every interference, no buffs, no debuffs, because the only thing allowed is him, and support for her comes strictly through cheering. With the rule accepted, Will roars out encouragement, and Lunamaria surges forward again, determination burning bright in her heart. Consumed by frustration and helplessness, he clenches his fist and frantically hunts for any way to get in and make a difference. He shouts for Vandal, drowning in doubt as Lunamaria fights tooth and nail against the golem. A fresh memory snaps into place as young Will leans in, curiously grilling Vandal about golems during one of his magic lessons. Vandal broke it down for everyone. Golems weren't just machines, they were magic puppets, built from different elemental materials and brought to life by spells. Will clutches the key, and when each golem wakes up, it spits out the exact word that marks its weakness. Will remembers Vandal's warning, scrub the first letter off a golem's core, and the thing drops dead. He doubles down with Ronin, no interference, ever, then slaps analysis magic onto himself. Using magic vision, it pinpoints the mana flow surging toward the golem's magical word. He screams the weak point's exact location, and Lunamaria strikes right on cue, timed to perfection with flawless coordination. Lunamaria unleashes a crushing final strike, slashes straight through the weak spot, and the moment it lands, she drops him, knocked out cold. We'll watch in panic as Lunamaria rises and lines up her last, game-changing strike. With perfect timing to Will's command, Lunamaria strikes the weak spot with her blade. Her slash lands clean on the stone, cracking it hard and sending shattering fragments bursting across the golem's magically reinforced body. As debris blasts outward, Will cheer their victory, while Lunamaria fights to get her composure back. Ronin praises them both, blown away, Lunamaria's sword skills and Will's surprise strategic backing. Ronan blows the lid off the trial's real purpose, forcing Will and Lunamaria to prove they can mesh together or fail in front of everyone. He can't stop thinking about Will's years of loneliness and how, through this fight, Lunamaria's trust runs so deep it feels unbreakable. Lunamaria rockets into Will's arms, grinning like she's won it all, and everyone nearby gets flustered just watching them celebrate. Blushing hard with embarrassment, Lunamaria rushes to apologize for overreacting, and somehow, he awkwardly stammers out a heartfelt apology of his own. Ronan declares their victory loud and proud, praising them side by side, because they just crushed the second trial with pure strength. Once the second trial falls, the group realizes there's just one last boss battle left waiting for them. A mysterious woman readies the final trial, calling up monsters from the shadows, and as they gather, she chooses exactly which deadly task they'll unleash next. Under the sharp glow of the cold moon, Will and Lunamaria trek deep into the snowy forest to set up camp. We lean in and stoke the fire as Lunamaria watches the soup bubble and simmer over the flames. He handed her a bowl like it meant the world, and she took that steaming meal with a gentle, thankful smile. As she dug in, she gushed that his cooking was amazing, and Will admitted he'd been cooking up a storm on his solo mountain training missions. Eager to help, Lunamaria volunteered to cook next time, because priestesses train in everything, not just praying. Will caught Lunamaria's eye and warned her they were about to hit the last trial, so she better get the rest they needed, right now. A goddess descended like fate itself, hovering over them as she studied her two companions, already weighing the new mission she'd just put in their hands. The goddess slammed down with unshakable authority and ordered them to kiss right now, leaving both Will and Lunamaria completely blindsided. Mortified by how bold she'd sounded, she tried to save face with a panicked inner voice, overprotective, flustered, and spiraling. She demanded to see it for herself, spiraling at the thought that their feelings might be real and hidden from her. Another god crashed in and bonked her on the head, then tore into her for daring to set an impossible, humiliating trial. Forced to rethink everything, the goddess stomped her displeasure, and the others snapped that they wanted a trial that made sense, something respectable this time. She snapped still, horrified by those aging makeup smears, and that one vanity panic derailed the sacred conversation completely. Panicking about her age, she let daisies lull her into imagining her own death, then spiraled straight into a wild, dramatic delusion. She redirected the request, asking for herbs to pamper her skin, and Will and Lunamaria jumped at the chance to try the new sane trial. Their celebration died the second they found out the herbs only grow by the deadly northern dragon's lair. The holy orchid blooms only once in a blue moon, guarded by dragons, and now he has to deliver it before tomorrow's noon, no excuses. Will grabbed the dangerous task with zero hesitation, and Maria winked back, playful on the surface, but she knew exactly what was coming. At dawn, Lunamaria stood alone at the grave, whispering prayers in silence as their mission was about to begin. Will awoke under the trees, gripping his thoughts tight as he braced for the deadly mission that was waiting for him today. After they finished their morning rush, Will and Lunamaria trekked to the foot of the mountain, staring straight at the cavern entrance. Deep in that cramped cavern, they crept forward like prey, and every echo screamed that the space was way smaller than they thought. Will laid out Vandal's intel. Turns out the dragon's real lair sat deeper in the mountains, right near the summit. They trade theories about dragons roaming the world, knowing they're terrifying, yet stuck in the worst part, not knowing which species is even sleeping out there right now. Pressing farther into the deeper cliffs, they felt nothing lurking nearby, just quiet air, so they kept hunting the orchid, banking on luck to carry them through. No orchid anywhere, so they clenched their nerves and plunged deeper, because the danger was only getting worse. A strange floral scent hit out of nowhere. Then we're gonna scream, because an ambush just tore through the rocks. A colossal blue dragon collided mid-roar, its monstrous power rattling the earth with terrifying force. The dragon lunged without warning, tearing the world apart with raw fury, and Lunamaria snapped out of the way just in time to dodge its explosive breath. Dust and debris crash down as they stagger, coughing but still standing. Then they scramble to regroup in the middle of the chaos. Will blurted out in panic, but Lunamaria shot back that she was totally unharmed. As Lunamaria fought to catch her breath, the dragon's gaze snapped onto her most exposed spot. With terrifying speed, the dragon dove straight at Lunamaria just as she braced to defend herself. Will braced himself with a solid stance, eyes locked and narrowed, channeling raw power as the dragon slammed in at full speed. Sensing Will's intent, the dragon froze in the air, yanked its wings upward, and backed off mid-dive instead of smashing down with death. We braced to throw up a protective barrier, terrified the dragon would come crashing back for another hit on Luna Maria. She screamed for him to stop casting magic right now. One wrong spell could wake the dragon or ruin the orchid. She'll trust her gut, lunge forward, and shut down the threat before it has any chance to spiral out of control. With a thunderous roar, he slammed straight into the charging dragon's exposed side. Luna Maria shrieked Will's name as the ground detonated. Then Will slammed into the dragon in midair. The mountain shook as rubble rained down from the brutal clash between Will and the blue dragon. Wounded but still upright, Will gripped his blade with iron resolve and stared down the dragon as it shifted its stance. He proclaimed the mountain sacred and ordered the dragon to vanish peacefully, because he'd rather stop the next wave of bloodshed than watch it spill. Once the dragon understood his words, it launched into the sky, and Luna Maria sprinted forward, finally breathing easy because Will was still alive. Will leaned in and reassured her in a gentle voice, staying steady even after the battle, and at last, the danger finally backed off. Relief hit hard. Luna Maria confirmed the smell, and they pushed into the nearby area to hunt every last detail. They tracked down the holy orchid, blooming like a miracle under a halo of glowing light, untouched by all the chaos around it. We'll stare at that lone flower, still perfectly whole, like it's proof that it somehow made it through the whole fight unscathed. With bright, hopeful grins, they knew one thing for sure: handing it to Mother Maria would finish the trial. Together, they clutched the flower-proof of courage, teaming up, grinding through the mountain trial, and sealing their victory. They decided to bolt right away, because that wary dragon, and any others, could come back any second and trap them before they got out. Side by side, they burst out of the mountain's depths, the clouds parting above them as the sky finally opened, until they reached safety. Sunlight blazed overhead as they laughed, praising each other for snagging the orchid and somehow making it through alive. With hearts full of hope, they couldn't wait to hand over the flower and earn God's blessing for the road ahead. As they pushed ahead, a majestic stag burst into view, divine approval shining in the way it watched over their path. Max the deer suddenly bursts into view, and Will's jaw drops. Luna Maria stays cool as ice, then calmly introduces Max as her friend. Max fires off a warning to Luna Maria about the danger closing in, and then Will learns that Max can speak, shocked speechless at what he's just found out. Will and Max lock eyes, serious, unblinking, like they just shared a silent warning about threats you can't even see yet. Will snaps to the truth. Maria's trial was a setup all along, and both of them erupt in furious, shocked screams. Max stands there, and Will and Luna Maria brace themselves too, because the true trial has just kicked off again. Will and Luna Maria quickly realize Maria's trial wasn't about fighting at all. It was a brutal test of empathy and the deeper truth behind her choices. Sensing something was terribly urgent, she stepped back, and that sudden move jolted Luna Maria as eerie motion rippled through the bushes nearby. Will slowly closes in on Max the beast, lost in thought, then slides up and gives him a calm pat to reassure him. Max's newborn daughter is gravely ill, so he tears out in search of rare herbs, gambling everything to save her fragile life. They finally clock it. Max has to drag the holy orchid straight out of the perilous dragon's lair to heal her. Will slams down the truth. Miria really sent Max, so it's clear the whole trial was rigged from the start, with a hidden purpose. He realizes Miria mapped out everything, because she knew Max's crisis would rip open their hearts, not just test their muscles. Will asks Max what's wrong with his daughter, caught in a brutal tug-of-war between cold logic, racing emotion, and Miria's unforgiving standards. They've got one shot: use the sacred flower right now, or gamble for something else and risk failing before it's too late. Will cranes his neck to the sky, sprinting against the clock, because he knows the very next move will decide his entire future. Will clutches his fists tight beneath the blazing sun, knowing the last decision is his alone to carry. Meanwhile, a calm woman sweeps inside, completely clueless as trouble brews outside the house. She carefully wrings the cloth tight, getting swallowed by the calm, while the pressure keeps surging higher and higher. She blurts out while cleaning her adult son's room, and somehow it feels oddly motherly, even with his age. A gruff guy catches the conversation by accident, grumbles like he's mad, but can't help smiling as he remembers how even dirt-stained days still somehow end up warm. Ronan ransacks Will's stuff, grinning like he's about to uncover secret treasures while roasting the embarrassing woodblock prints. She slams into him and demands he confess, and no matter what she digs up, she's already decided he's the one to blame. Yet another woman needles the calm vibe, pointing out that Will is right on the edge of finishing the trial. Ronan still speaks with iron confidence, beating that dragon is easy, and Will can't help but believe in him completely. But suspicion crawls in, and Ronan presses Maria hard, demanding the truth, what she's really planning. Miria admits the doe's illness is real, but she also insists the whole setup was still a cold, deliberate manipulation. Deeper in the lair, the orchids creep into even darker ground, yet with danger closing in and companions depending on him, every second turns into a deadly gamble. At best, they'll spot a single orchid up above, and that'll trap them into a cruel choice with nothing to gain. Marius smirks as he counts on Will's kindness, because this time, Will hand over the flower, and it'll cost everything, just so Marius can gamble for a new one. Ronan flashes a grin, acting like Will's about to pop back any second, and making it clear his room won't need cleaning anytime soon. Miria fiercely guards her bond with Will, but Ronan snaps back that this journey is what's going to forge him. Will stands tall in front of Luna Maria, locked in and ready to choose, because now he's walking on his own. Luna Maria nods, friends come first, and gently hands the holy orchid to Max. Your time is running out, so thank her now. The trial's outcome hangs in the balance, and nobody knows what'll happen next. Will swears he'll dive into the lair's darkest depths by himself, betting everything just to prove he's worth it. Will sprinted through the caverns, convinced that deeper down he'd finally find where those orchids still grow. Luna Maria refuses to be left behind. She insists the danger is exactly why she has to come along and protect him. She weighs the danger. What if the dragons cut him down, and the orchids are nowhere to be found? She smirks with total confidence and tells him, "Your nose found the first orchid." And yeah, after all, he finally finished tying the orchids to Max, and with a proud grin, his promise to help was fully paid off. Will spots Max's battered legs. He'd been galloping nonstop, fueled by pure love for his daughter. Luna Maria starts healing Max's broken legs on the spot, then slams the lesson into him. Next time they meet, bring his healthy daughter with him. Max rockets off with the orchids. Now it's Will's turn, and Luna Maria is up next to step in. Will suddenly scoops Luna Maria into his arms, shocking her to the core as he gets ready to bolt. He tells her flying will get them there in half the time, then he summons wind magic, and she swallows hard, nodding as her nerves scream at her to run. Will and Luna Maria locked eyes with pure determination, ready to end this trial together. Now, magic roars under their feet as they burst forward, kicking off the final stretch of their descent. From a distance, Miria watches with a bittersweet smile, and she's already cooking up something warm for when they come back. Side by side, they bulldozed every danger with kindness and sheer strength, and finally cleared Miria's trial. Miria keeps her calm smile on, but inside her chest tightens, because she has no idea how she'll handle Will's return about to crash through her life. Outside, two worried figures trade tense words about Miria's feelings, and it's clear Will leaving home has her shaken. The old mage falls silent for a moment and realizes it's time. Your Will has to break free, because true strength only comes when you leave the nest. Footsteps thudded into the earth, steady, familiar, and the long-awaited one finally came home. Will and his companion come back grinning. "Back, Mom, Dad," he shouts, and joy bursts into their lives all over again. Sunlight tears through the clouds, and that warm voice sweeps Will back into their waiting arms. He suddenly pitches forward, completely wiped out, because he pushed himself past his limit on the journey. His father bursts with praise, saying his strength and effort shine, and then returns with holy orchids in hand, wearing a tired smile that feels earned. Miria bursts in, all raw emotion, and hurls herself at him. Slam, embrace, so tight it feels like it might crush the air out of him. She checks his wounds, squeezes him even tighter, and tears into him for vanishing without her right there beside him. Will blurts out, "Did the orchid work?" Because he's on edge. Miria's smile healing had already nailed it earlier. Max swears he gave the medicine himself, and the injured doe should bounce back to full health within just a few days. The old wizard drops a sharp hint that Miria's hiding something, and the whole group feels the tension snap tight. Miria makes it official. Will clears the third trial, snatches the orchids from Dragon's lair, and proves he's earned it. A mighty eagle swoops down with thunderous praise. Ryus finally congratulates Will and the priestess, straight from the sky. The divine eagle Reyes swings in and swears he's seen all three trials, and that they'll overcome them with fearless courage. Reyes slams the news. Will's gone in 10 days on his 15th birthday. Miria slams together a booming welcome feast, then sends Will and Luna Maria to tear through the cleanup. Whispers of jokes about Miria's cooking start spreading, yet surprisingly, he ends up loving her herbal, infused, weirdly tasty meals. Will is ordered to kick back at home and enjoy the next 10 calm, peaceful days. A kitchen table groans under a mountain of food, all lovingly made to celebrate Will's triumphant return and hard-won recovery. Laughter bursts through the room as everyone digs in, trading stories and soaking up that cozy, head-warming vibe around the table. Luna Maria nearly faints from the sheer flavor overload, then, with a bright grin, cheerfully offers her more on the spot, no hesitation, no worries. That night the house fell silent, and he just stared at the moon, already wrestling with the changes tomorrow was about to bring. Ronin slams their will into brutal training, burning their last moments before departure with non-stop hard sparring. Father Vandal fires up his willpower, hammering home that wisdom is everything, and that reading is the key to it. Will asks for travel books, and Vandal fires off way too many suggestions, smothering the young hero with information in an instant. He makes a vow to use every scrap of magic he's learned, and to honor the teachings his father passed down. Under the starry sky, Will finally sink into a peaceful bath, letting all the tension melt away before the journey. Miria strides in with zero hesitation, grabs the chance to wash his back, and leaves Will reeling, utterly shocked and flustered by her bold presence. Miria dotes on Will as she lovingly washes his hair, cooing about how it gleams and teasing him with pure, motherly affection. She softly taps his shoulder and reminds him to take care of himself as he's headed far away from their mountain home. Maria pushes Will to come back, because if the road gets too brutal, this place is still his safe haven. A brand new friend grabs Will's attention and thanks him for stopping by, and in that moment they click hard as he shows her his homeland. Will pauses to drink in nature's beauty, rivers flashing, trees swaying, winds whispering, and he holds those memories close, cherishing the world that raised him like it's sacred. Will and Luna Maria bask in their final moments atop the mountain, while gentle forest creatures circle them like a loving, living lullaby. 10 days later, the god's disciples brace themselves for the long-awaited moment when Will finally departs. Will tightens every strap on his gear, locking in his body and his mind for whatever waits outside their divine sanctuary. On his 15th birthday, he'll thank his guardians with a full heart, then burst off toward the path fate already picked for him. With hope blazing and excitement roaring, Will tears himself away from the sacred mountain and sets out to face the world. Will and Luna Maria push north through the forest, yet that shaky, half-spoken direction leaves them staring at each other like, wait, what are we even doing? Luna Maria confirms there really is a destination ahead, and yeah, this is his first trip beyond the mountain. They march through the kingdom of Midawa's lands, right from the base of Table Mountain. Luna Maria drops the truth. Midwa's forest is where their goal hides, and a holy sword is waiting the moment they step in. His blade drives straight through the sacred boulder, and Will realizes this legendary trial might be the moment his destiny finally snaps into place. We'll read the prophecy off the book, and Luna Maria swore it only the sword hero could draw it. Luna Maria is convinced divine guidance is steering them, so she keeps pushing forward, even as the road stretches on forever. They call it a breather, head to a nearby village, and stock up on supplies so they can recover their strength. Will admits Luna Maria is the first human he's ever met, and the bond hits him like a rare, treasured honor. She tells him no big cities this way, just tiny villages scattered across the land as we push farther north. He strides in, takes control of the food hunt, and somehow manages to wow Luna Maria as they gear up for the journey ahead. Meanwhile, a mysterious girl quietly fishes alone by the lakeside, totally oblivious to the danger creeping closer. She spots danger hiding in the bushes, snaps into panic, and assumes that creepy noise is a wild animal. Clutching her weapon like it's life, she roars at the unseen threat lurking in the dark, ready to drive it away. To her shock, it isn't a beast at all. Will and Luna Maria burst out from the cover. She bursts into relieved laughter, admitting she got totally startled. Turns out she's just fishing by the lake. They huddle together, swapping wild tales, while she's left reeling, shocked that travelers are out here, deep inside the forest's reach. She spills her plan, catch the lake's king herself, all for the legendary sword hero's sake. Even with that sweet, youthful face, she boldly declares that she's the sword hero's loyal servant. Will quietly savors his admiration, totally hooked by the thought of finally crossing paths with this mysterious sword hero. Luna Maria freezes as the girls are left alone. Then she blurts that the sword hero is waiting just outside the forest. The girl swears she's earned his trust, flashing confidence as she declares the hero already knows she's capable of handling things on her own. She's dead set on proving herself, so she flings her line into the water, aiming straight for the lake's king. Suddenly, the lake explodes open. Something enormous surges up and lashes out at the girl's reckless dare. Wrenching herself against the brutal pole, she blurts, "It's the king, the one I've been hunting." A giant fish explodes out of the water, and in the blink of an eye, its massive body slams into view, leaving them staring in total shock. The girl snaps to it, Koidaru, a hulking, nightmare fish so massive it dwarfs every single one of them. He dares her to let it go, but she clamps down harder, refusing to budge, fighting with pure grit. Even when exhaustion screams in her bones, she fights back with pure fury, her grip locks down tight as the fish yanks her straight toward the edge. She gets yanked into the air so hard she can barely breathe, pure terror flooding her. Then she realizes Kohateru could actually gulp her down whole, alive. The girl shrieks for her hero, then barrels forward with her sword out, burning to help. Will rockets up out of nowhere, snatches her right out of the air, and leaves her frozen in disbelief at how unreal that save was. With tears streaming down her face, she's overwhelmed with emotion and pours out heartfelt thanks to Will, filled with awe and deep, sincere admiration. So when she offers him a reward, he politely refuses, just relieved she's made it out safe. Lunamaria watches her fishing rods snap, and then realizes Koidaru's size makes him impossible to reel in and control. Lynx nods and agrees to return to the hero. Then Will and Lunamaria step in, begging to go with her. She thrusts herself into the introductions, an exchange of links, and calls herself the Sword Hero's servant before presenting Lunamaria as the Earth Goddess priestess. Lynx fires off the claim that Lunamaria is about to serve her, and Lunamaria just laughs, all amused, then leans in to hear Lynx's wild, over-the-top admiration. Lynx leans in and asks, "So you're a wizard, Will?" And he snaps back, furious and fast, "Nope, I'm just a nobody." Lynx chuckled at his own tale, laughing it off because he couldn't believe anyone actually survived living up on the god's mountain. Lunamaria is sure Will's name is about to explode across the world, and Lynx is bragging that the sword hero's blade skills are unmatched. Lynx's nose tingles with danger, blood is in the air, and he pushes the whole group straight toward the sword hero's camp nearby. Lynx darts ahead, barking for Will and Luna to keep up, while metal clatters behind them and everyone's on edge. Aga Goblin gets mercilessly cut down in an instant. Then Will and Lunamaria burst in just in time to witness the brutal scene. A pack of goblins closes in, but fangirls erupt in cheers as the sword hero cuts down every enemy. The armored warrior sneered at the goblins, blasting them for striking without realizing how overpoweringly strong he was. He's boxed in by enemies, then he snarls, "You're not getting out alive," and suddenly they all step into view. Claiming himself as Lord Levine, the sword hero, he braces to take on the goblins solo, no backup. Will and Lunamaria show up, stunned and absolutely awestruck by how fearless that confident figure standing in front of the horde looks. Levine surges forward, right as the legendary sword hero's power is about to blow wide open in the middle of battle. Levine stood alone before the goblins and boldly declared, sword hero or nothing, that his strength wouldn't back down for even a second. Will and Lunamaria slam into the scene right on time, catching Levine standing fearless with a blazing battle aura blazing around him. A crowd of mysterious girls popped up out of nowhere, cheering for Levine, so fast and so sudden it left everyone completely baffled. Lynx sprinted straight at Will and Lunamaria, and instant relief hit them as familiar voices burst through the air. Will apologized sincerely. Lynx couldn't wait and immediately steered the conversation, practically blurting out whether they'd seen Levine's strength. Will and Lunamaria stared at Levine in awe, completely captivated by his graceful presence, his androgynous charm, and that youthful, polished look that screamed refined. One girl gushed over Levine's sword skills, swearing his blade could split rock clean in half and drop birds out of the sky mid-flight. Levine snarled at the enemy force. Furious, they dared crash dinner with a brutal 30-on-1 ambush. With the cheerleaders pumping up the crowd behind him, Levine snapped that everyone should keep their distance as the fight finally erupted. Levine mocked the enemy's hesitation and then burst forward, sprinting in with terrifying speed and carving through goblins with razor-flawless swordplay. Levine lunged forward and smashed the first goblin into the dirt, grinning like he owned the battlefield as his sword spilled fresh blood. Levine cut through the chaos, leaping over foes as he taunted them mid-fight and dared them to keep up with his blade. Levine swung wildly, laughing at the goblin's weakness as the crowd stared, stunned by his ruthless style. Will gave Levine his full respect, but something uneasy still clung to his gut as he stared him down. Even with Levine's flawless form, you can feel the unease creeping into every swing, like something way deeper than technique is throwing him off. Levin roared with pure fury as arrows slammed toward him, and he smashed them away with relentless, raw power. Ambushed and outmatched, Levine thrashed as goblins clung to him with death-grip strength, yanking his sword swings off rhythm. More arrows tore out from the trees, smashing into Levine as the girls screamed desperate warnings. Will leapt forward and threw his shield up, cutting Levine free of danger as he sliced through the arrows mid-flight with calm, lightning-fast precision. Both warriors hung there, gasping, their eyes snapping locked with the same rising fear, because the real threat had just kicked off. Will and Levine slipped into position shoulder to shoulder, blades up, and then blam, hit everyone with shocking teamwork no one saw coming. Levine snapped into hostility, seized Will's identity with a roar, and shoved her sword hard against his throat. Will fidgeted through his explanation, nervously telling them he'd run into Link and only showed up to help. Levine didn't want to, but she finally caved and let Will stick around on her terms and only her terms. While her enemies closed in, Levine launched forward and barked a warning to Will not get in her way. We'll spot Levine's blind spot, slip in behind him, and line up our moves to shut down anything he tries from the back. He snapped out a silky, deadly slash and wiped out a bunch of goblins in one clean sweep, like it was effortless. Levine jerked around in shock, stunned by Will's smooth swordwork and the sudden, unstoppable way he showed up in combat. Spectators leaned in, whispering in total awe and confusion, trying to figure out if Will was really trying to steal the hero's spotlight. Lynx and the others erupted in cheers, praising Will's secret power and shouting for him to crush the enemy. Lovey's patience snapped. She grilled Will about why he suddenly showed up, and she felt genuinely insulted by how fiercely he stepped in to protect her. A goblin barreled toward Levine with reckless fury, smashing through her guard with shocking speed and raw aggression. Lavin will slice through enemies in a blink, then stop just long enough to read the chaos spreading across the battlefield. Levine stood alone on the high ground, stone cold and silent, staring at Will from afar like he was measuring his every move. Before anyone even spotted what happened, the crowd misread the moment and swore Levine had already smashed the goblin. Levin seethed in silence, furious that Will kept butting in, and even more furious that everyone kept praising him. Out of nowhere, a goblin sprang in ambush, and it slammed into Levine's focus just a heartbeat too late for him to react. Will carved through goblins with surgical precision, while Levine stayed frozen in place, swallowing his mounting fury and pure disbelief. He retreated by himself, putting distance between him and the danger, torn between facing the truth head-on or burying every ugly doubt. The crowd completely misread the moment, thinking Levine's silent exit meant he'd crushed everyone with sheer power and untouchable success. As the goblins scrambled to escape, Levine roared for them to come back, preaching justice at the top of his lungs while Will fought to hold his temper in check. Sweat soaked Levine as frustration surged. He clicked his tongue, eyes blazing, furious at the outcome and furious at his own pride. Luna Maria stepped forward and introduced Will and herself, and once again, another girl lauded Levine's efforts as heroic. Lynx swallowed her pride, apologized, and admitted she couldn't land a hit on the beast, then came back empty-handed, drowning in regret. Levin tore into her for messing up, but Luna Maria shot back, praising Will's courage for charging into danger to rescue her. Will snapped back at Levine's ruthless judgment, stood up for Lynx, and even confessed how close she'd come to dying. Levine's fan club exploded in rage, snarling that Will was arrogant for daring to question their beloved sword hero. Lavin yanked his blade free, roaring that he'd settle everything with a fight. Rage like ice seized Levine as he challenged Will to a duel, cornering him into a decision under crushing pressure. Will gets thrown a challenge by the legendary sword hero, and before he can even breathe, a life-or-death duel kicks off. Unfazed, he steps into the duel without a tremor, ready to show everyone just how powerful the gods made him. Luna Maria lunges in without warning, yanking Will's attention right before the fight, panicking that he's made a sudden, reckless decision to duel. Even after her warning, he throws caution aside, buys into his training, and waves off the sword hero's unstoppable reputation. Luna Maria stares at the duel like it's a chessboard, plotting how to steer the outcome, because an easy win might just invite trouble. The sword hero wrestles with his refusal, but pride flares up and curiosity won't let him back down, so he steps into the duel. Will strides forward with zero doubt, calming Luna Maria as the sword hero fidgets and grows furious from all that waiting. Will yanks his blade free, announces he's ready to strike, then suddenly feels a nasty, unsettling aura crawling off his opponent. The sword hero surges forward, smashing in with raw force to test how tough willpower really is through a brutal opening strike. Braces snapped as the sword hero slammed his blade down, igniting a brutal clash with divinely trained warriors. Will slips out of that devastating strike, but the sword hero growls that he can't keep pulling his punches much longer. A brutal clash detonates in the moment, and his counter lands as a crushing heavy strike, shocking his opponent with strength they never saw coming. Spectators lose their minds when the hero unleashes that ruthless combo, yet Luna Maria just keeps her cool, trusting Will's secret power. Will starts clocking his opponent's rhythm, spots the attacks as they come, and shifts his defense on the fly mid-fight. The memories of Fr. Ronin's training crash back in engraving discipline, razor timing, and a resolve that won't bend. He's about to blurt out his doubts during training, and that confession makes his mentor dig deep, to test how solid his heart really is. A flashback hits Will hard, showing him that battles aren't just about raw strength, they're battles of morals and beliefs, clashing like ideologies set on fire. Ronan snaps his blade mid-swing with razor-perfect control, showing that every strike is guided by one clear purpose and one united will. Will realizes determination is power, but when his emotions start to wobble, it gives his enemies the crack they're waiting to exploit. Even with his body wrecked, Will felt something new ignite. He started reading emotions through swords, catching his enemy, Will the moment their blades clashed. Will senses the sword hero's inner chaos through his blade, confusion first, then pride swelling, and finally frustration clawing its way to the surface. Overwhelmed, the sword hero grills Will's insight, rattled by those eyes that feel like they're drilling straight into his soul. Both warriors crumple in exhaustion, and the sword hero finally throws in the towel, because Will's sheer skill and unbreakable spirit crushed him. The sword hero pauses, steels himself, and offers an apology, confessing that the aggression wasn't strength at all, just immaturity masking deeper personal pain. Spectators erupt with cheers for the hero's win, but he won't just take the spotlight. He'll earn silent respect as he walks away and leaves the kind of impact you can't forget. Will recalls a brilliant strategy game his mentors played, and he carries every lesson they taught straight into battle. A sudden blare of alarm snaps everyone awake, goblin troubles right nearby, so the group instantly scrambles, gears up, and prepares to strike first. The sword hero demands they move camp at once, refusing to rest anywhere near the fallen goblin corpses. Just before they split up, the team barrels toward the forest to hunt for the sword. Their firm handshake seals the goodbye, and you can feel respect and those shared memories lingering in the air as they part ways. Night crashes in as the crew crowds around the campfire, their bonds forged tighter from every brutal fight and hard-earned rest. Hot pot bubbles on the table and grilled skewers hit the grill sizzle, your reward for clawing through yet another brutal day in the wild. The sword hero can't believe his luck. This meal comes with warmth and real care, and it hits him straight in the heart. With a playful grin, the hero asks to be hand-fed, and it instantly sparks laughter, plus non-stop cheerful teasing from everyone around. Aliens close in, and somehow it's full of warmth and affection. The hero sinks into each bite, savoring the taste like a tiny slice of peace that lasts just long enough to feel pure joy. The sword hero soaks up every compliment, then grins and vows that for once, he'll let someone else pamper him. As the night grows darker, the group snoozes peacefully, while doubt quietly coils in the hero's chest. All alone, the sword hero drifts through the silence, sword heavy in hand, exhaustion crushing him as unresolved thoughts gnaw at his mind. His hands shook uncontrollably as he finally swallowed his pride and admitted defeat. There wasn't even enough strength left to lift a spoon. Meanwhile, Will wrestles with the fight, shocked that anyone could trade sword flash moves on his level. Beneath the moon's cold glow, the sword hero steps into the river alone, hunting silence for the storm raging inside him. She rinses off the weight on her shoulders, and for a little while slips out of duty, letting the shimmering stars and silent trees carry her away. The sword stigmata finally spills out proof of who she really is, and reveals the secret she's been hiding from everyone. Her real self bursts through, because this woman was trapped living as a man, all for the family's honor. Even with all her confidence and training, she keeps quietly falling apart inside, questioning what she's for, who she is, and whether her strength even holds. Alone in the water, the sword hero drifts in silence, letting the moonlight spill over her like a spotlight. She replays Will's words about the holy sword, and at last her body starts to come back to life, slowly, painfully, but real. Staring at the moon, she can't stop wondering, does real strength and maybe destiny wait for her past the road she's on? At sunrise, one step lands with a silent promise. He pushes forward anyway, even with those hidden burdens weighing him down. Will and Lunamaria hit the high road, charging toward Northwood, where the holy sword waits. Will roll onto the wide road toward Northwood, staring in disbelief at wonders beyond those towering mountains. As they roll into the welcoming village, they'll soak in every sight with wide-eyed wonder and heartfelt gratitude. Lunamaria pointed out the paved roads and their trade and civilization symbols, and Will leaned in, studying the tracks with hungry curiosity. A carriage came tearing in from the north, and the terrifying speed and clear direction threw everyone into instant panic. He instinctively snapped into action, yanking Lunamaria out of harm's way just as the speeding carriage came screaming past. A girl's terrified scream hammered into Will's mind as her face flashed across the window. The carriage and wagon tore away into the distance, bouncing violently over every jagged bump in the road. Will shot a look and realized a girl was trapped inside, and she was frantically waving for help through the window. He remembered that second wagon, its eerie look and looming shadowed figures, and suspicion hit him like a punch. With Luna Maria's steady support lighting the way, he grits his teeth, trusts his instincts, and rushes straight into the danger to find out what's really going on. We'll make Luna Maria stay behind, trusting her with our stuff, and keeping her in charge of everyone's safety. With determination blazing, he charges forward like a bullet, soaring high over the open road. Matter leaned over the edge and swept his gaze across the land below, hunting for any trace of the runaway carriage's trail. He clocked the wagons ditching the road and slammed the accelerator, urgency blazing through every single move. Inside the carriage, a terrified girl bawled her eyes out, begging the universe for rescue as the captors closed in. The girl screamed as a blade ripped into the carriage wall, splinters bursting through the air and snapping right past her. A hulking masked man closed in, and the moment he saw her, he knew she was tied to the Anaheim firm. His hand shot forward like ice, claiming it wasn't personal, just the job he had to do. Suddenly, a blazing shockwave ripped through the air above them, and both the girl and her attacker jerked in shock. Panic erupted the moment the mercenaries spotted it, something crashing down hard onto the carriage roof. Will leapt onto the carriage from above, and the landing hit like proof. His choice to fly was 100% the right move. Will charged into the place and confronted the thug. One look at him, and the guy's confidence shattered into panic. With one clean, precise strike, Will drop him instantly and wipe out the threat before it can even breathe. He slipped inside and found the girl shaking, her eyes blown wide with raw fear and total confusion. As he introduced himself in a calm, steady voice, Will promised her safety, while the chaos outside kept roaring in the background. Karen threw herself into a desperate plea for protection, then blurted out her noble identity while she fought to outrun the men closing in on her. He gently steadied her, promising she'd be safe as his calm touch soothed her shaking fears. Glass-ridden carriage in a failed ambush. Carriage, blind with fury, swung his crossbow shot wide, missing Will as he aimed straight through the carriage. Outside, mercenaries shouted over one brutal demand: capture the target alive, and that fight for control only cranked up the tension in their pursuit. As danger tightens around us, we'll scramble up a plan, distract the enemy attackers, and split them apart before they can hit as one. We'll found the coachman crumpled in agony, and that's when the truth hit. His injuries explained why the carriage had lost control earlier. Neither Will nor Karen could get the car to move, so they're stuck unless we whip up a quick plan fast. He spotted that terrain feature up ahead, told Karen to brace for the turbulence, and mapped the maneuver in his head. While the enemy carriage barreled in, a hardened mercenary lunged forward with a brutal strike. Will explode out of the carriage on cue, slamming his kick into an attacker and blasting him clean off his mount. Will juked the incoming strike, snapped a counter in midair, then dropped his opponent with a lightning-fast spinning smash. Without a second thought, he leapt onto the lead horse and snatched the reins of the speeding carriage. He spoke to the horse in a steady, soothing voice, urging it to bolt forward and guard the rider who lay unconscious. The carriage surged ahead, roaring down the road like it had one shot at freedom before it got caught. Enemy wagons slammed along behind them, its riders snarling in fury as Will's plan snapped into place flawlessly. Earlier, while we were still flying, we spotted a cliff dead ahead and snapped together a high-risk escape plan. He sprinted straight for it, pressing the gas just enough to lure the enemy into chasing him. The mercenaries chasing them sneered, totally clueless that the ground beneath their feet was being set to trap them. At the perfect second, we're gonna roar it out and yank the reins hard for a razor-sharp turn. They couldn't slam on the brakes in time. The enemy wagon tore over the edge, and every rider screamed as it plunged into the void. With danger lurking right behind them, they guided the carriage into a quiet forest clearing, safe for the moment. He dropped to his knees beside the unconscious coachman, pouring out a steady stream of magic to seal every wound. Will looked the man in the eye and promised he'd live, then turned to Karen and swore their nightmare was finally under control. Karen lavished praise on his magic, then spoke with humble respect about his mother, Myria, along with his teacher. As Will left, Karen's cheeks flamed red. She beamed like her savior had just pulled off something truly heroic. With the sky hanging peaceful and the road stretching wide, Will and Karen kept rolling forward, carving through quiet countryside like it was made just for them. Karen clung to Will on the driver's bench, smiling as she claimed it was her special seat. Will let out a chuckle at her nerve, likening her stubborn affection to his beloved teacher, Mother Myria. Luna Maria suddenly burst back into the scene, reuniting with Will, while Karen squinted at this new rival, like she knew something was off. Without missing a beat, Karen blurted that she was Will's fiancée, leaving Luna Maria stunned and forcing her into an extremely awkward, must-explain-right-now showdown. Karen begged Will to come meet her father, but Luna Maria shut that down fast, there was urgent travel waiting. Lunamaria finally spilled the truth. She and the crew weren't on a random job at all. They were hunting a legendary holy sword hidden deep inside Northwood Forest. Karen pushed back hard, insisting they take her offer, claiming their mission gave her the perfect excuse to drag them all the way to her estate. Then she spills the truth. The forest they're chasing sits right inside her family's merchant territory. Will's carriage rolls down a dusty road in near silence, and with his last mission done, he's finally set out on the next journey. On the trip, this one girl can't stop talking. She gushes over her favorite foods, trying to win Will over and leave him seriously impressed. Two girls start fighting over who gets to walk with Will, and you can practically see the stress and confusion crushing him in real time. Will bark in order to stop the fighting, and both girls get shoved to sit quietly behind the coachman. Frustration burns, and the girls just pout in dead silence, every single one of them glaring stubbornly, refusing to admit they lost. Suddenly, the girls catch the coachman collapsing on the spot. His breathing comes in ragged gasps, and his forehead burns with a blistering fever. Will quickly scans the scene, checks there's no poison, then realizes the real danger. He's bleeding out and his stamina is draining fast. Will shoots into action. He mixes the medicine and orders Lunamaria to give it to the injured coachman right away. Karen rushes to help, while Lunamaria checks the medicine's origin, passed down from Will's trusted teacher, Mother Maria. The medicine gets carefully lined up and handed over, and the coachman swallows it while the girls hover, terrified, watching his every breath. The girls stare at Will in awe, amazed at his knowledge. Then they're blown away by his strength, his magic, and now his insane medical skills. In the middle of their conversation, Will's mom drops a bombshell. Her name matches a revered goddess from the Holy Mountains. Will swears he was raised on God's sword, magic, and healing, even if he wasn't born among them. Curious girls pepper Will with questions about Northwood, his destination, and they hype it as a legendary border city. Northwood is a non-stop trade powerhouse, welcoming every race to set up shop, barter hard, and rise together. Karen remembers the ambush that just hit her, and she's still shaking with gratitude that Will stepped in to save her, even though she had elite bodyguards watching her back. Will frets over the kingdom's safety, then learns Madonia is usually calm, thickly guarded and heavily protected. Karen starts to suspect this wasn't random at all. Someone deliberately zeroed in on her, right in the middle of roads that were supposed to be safe. She begs to go with Will into the Holy Sword Forest, promising to be his help and his family while they face whatever's waiting. She dreams of the day she'll watch the willful Holy Sword be drawn, certain that moment will flip history onto a whole new page. Lunamaria clutches her nerves in silence, praying Dream's gaze will swing to her instead of anyone else. Will stumbled into a forest and ran into a sword hero named Levine, but he couldn't shake the doubt. Was this guy really that strong? The coachman starts getting better, and as his color returns, the whole group finally exhales, hope and relief hitting them all at once. Will sets a steady pace, plotting to roll into the city before the next day hits. The party pushes on, their carriage rattling toward the mountains, while destiny waits in the shadows ahead. He suddenly spots something ahead, and his eyes go wide as that crushing force barrels closer. A squad of armed riders bursts forward, screaming at Will's carriage to stop right now. Soldiers swarmed the road around the carriage, glaring with suspicion as they raised fully drawn weapons. Will doesn't hesitate, he rockets off the coach, ready to take the situation on with his own hands. A hard-eyed official snaps to attention and declares the carriage company property, then demands to know why strangers are packed inside it. Karen finally runs into her butler, Johan, who'd been frantically hunting for her ever since he got that terrifying news. Johan snaps to the wrong conclusion and targets Will as a threat, until Karen steps in, clears everything up, and makes sure Will saves her from disaster. With gratitude burning in his chest and embarrassment flaring, Johan rushes up to apologize and thanks Will's group for saving Lady Karen from getting hurt. Karen demands that Will's party get a proper formal invite to her home as her thank you for saving her. Johan sets up a sturdier carriage and a tight escort, then pushes Will's party to keep rolling forward, safe and unshaken. With the new plans locked in, Will and the crew kick back into motion, heading north for the non-stop bustle of Northwood. Suddenly, a chilling scream tears through the distance, and there it is, a fallen arm still wrapped in bracelets. Back at home, Maria Morn's chair sagged as her tears poured in, because her Will was gone, and the emptiness hit hard. Raz reassures her, if Will's journey keeps rolling smoothly, he'll reach the city soon. The elder grins like he knows exactly what's coming, and confidence iron Will is ready to smash through every trial the road throws at them. As Northwood finally crests the horizon, Will and his crew line in, bracing for every brutal twist waiting on the other side. Their carriage rumbles into Northwood, the fortress city where the legendary holy swords are kept, gleaming behind stone walls. The massive city gate loomed overhead as the caravan trudged in from the winding road. Guards eyed the incoming caravan with sharp suspicion, scanning every shadow for danger before waving it through the open gate. Inside the carriage, they leaned up to the window and peered out, eyes wide with pure awe at the brand new sights. The carriage rumbled into Northwood, and the moment it did, everyone stared as the bustling city lit up with cheerful townsfolk. Crowds buzzed and chattered nonstop. The noise and bodies nearly swallowed him whole. Then it hit. This city wasn't just busy, it was alive. Will leaned in as the girl mapped out the city and admitted her father's been freaking out with worry. She pushed the idea hard, go see her father first, at their mansion way out on the city's distant edge. Will suddenly screeched to a stop, convinced he spotted someone he knew in the crowd, then brushed it off fast as nothing but wishful imagination. Right at the mansion's entrance, Will froze in awe, standing there beside a mysterious woman whose calm presence felt almost magical. A maid stumbled out in pure shock, yelling for her lady, while Will was ushered inside in a rush. The maid rushed in and told them the whole family was sitting in the reception room, itching for the girl to finally come back. Inside, the father started pacing like a caged animal, nerves shredding as he got the news that his daughter had finally reached the entrance. Before she could even finish her sentence, her emotional father exploded with relief and slammed her into a fierce hug. Tears spilled nonstop as he clung to her with a vice-like grip, his heart exploding with joy and terror that she'd been hurt. Right as the reunion was heating up, Will and the elf burst in, and everyone went wide-eyed, half stunned, half dying to know what happens next. Victor Anaheim, Karen's father and the company chief, grins, welcomes them warmly, and demands to hear exactly what's going on. When Victor realized the attackers were hunting Karen, he went still and stared into the danger she'd barely survived, fighting to make sense of every risk. Will was unmasked as the boy from the Sacred Mountains, the very one who'd once saved Karen's life. Victor calmly sipped his tea, then snapped into a serious mood and tossed a request at Will that froze the whole room in shock. Victor's emotions erupted as he snapped at Will's plan, but the moment his daughter confessed her love, his anger melted into pure joy. Victor paused, caught in a tug-of-war between fatherly love and the need to earn approval. Then he finally nodded at Karen's fierce feelings for Will, proud as hell of the kid. Victor flaunted his status and trusted his gut, insisting his years of experience let him read people like books and run his business without missing a beat. He praised Will's power, character, and magic, and leaned on Karen's faith, believing the saint's divine presence was right there with them. Will smiled with real gratitude, stunned by Victor's acceptance, and hit by how warmly the whole family embraced him. While everyone else kept it serious, Karen lit up and blurted about picking out her wedding dress, leaving Will stunned by how excited she was. Victor hit pause on the holy sword talks, pushing Will to rest after the brutal journey and everything that went sideways. Victor snapped his fingers and summoned the maids, demanding full hospitality and a steaming bath ready for Will. Karen got her own accommodations, while Will was escorted straight into a lavish private bathing room. After soaking, he'll carry that feeling back home and count every minute since he last had rest or comfort. Elsewhere, the mysterious elf companion slipped into her bath in silence, staring into nothing as worries churned inside her, things she couldn't bring herself to say. Karen and Lunamaria sank into the warm bath together, trading preferences in calm whispers, while a peaceful quiet wrapped around them. Karen admitted she'd grown used to flying solo, then stared back on the memories she and Will built while they traveled together. They laid it all out, trust, straight up, and made it clear that intimacy like this only works when you've got real emotional closeness and the nerve to believe in each other. Karen couldn't stop staring at Lunamaria's power and striking presence, but then doubts clawed at her. What was Will really to her? Karen laughed and joked about their bodies, bragging she'd win on size, then even she admitted she'd packed on a little lately. Out of nowhere, Karen snapped competitive and yelled at Lunamaria, swearing she'd never lose to her at anything. Later on, Will and Lunamaria finally stepped out, fully dressed in formal outfits that fit them like they were made for it. Will admitted he was shaking with nerves, and Lunamaria just smiled like it was no big deal. Noble fashion felt no different than those ancient ruins. With cheeks dusted pink, Lunamaria complimented Will's looks, then snapped into thanks the second he matched her gesture. Karen spun in her brand new dress, grinning hard when Will leaned in and said it looked cute on her. The maids bowed and ushered Will and Lunamaria into the dining room, right where the others were waiting. Victor greeted them with open arms, piled a feast in front of them, and asked if they felt refreshed and fully at ease. Will sat beside Karen, and the moment she saw the setup, surprise flashed across her face. Then a bright, happy grin took over. A warm, kind maid poured him a drink and flashed a polite smile, while he thanked her with heartfelt gratitude. While everyone else missed it, the drink's surface twisted in a way it shouldn't, and someone watching in silence clung to tense, suspicious nerves. Right before he took a sip, a poison check goes off, alarms blare, and everyone at the dining table instantly turns suspicious. A dark mansion loomed in eerie silence, and the moment suspicion hit, someone snapped, "Is that drink poisoned?" William gripped the glass steady as the girl crumpled to the ground, while gasps and panic swelled all around him. With attempted kidnapping and poisoning hanging in the air, William burst into the room and laid bare the truth before the stunned nobles and terrified maids. He spoke with steady calm, like he'd learned it all from a pro. His mother had drilled poison detection, healing arts, and advanced detox techniques into him since he was a kid. William studied the cup's color, sniffed its scent, and felt its texture, then clocked the poison instantly without taking a single sip. A noble girl eyed the suspicious drink, then demanded it on the spot, because the scent screamed it wasn't real juice. She kept fidgeting, and finally admitted that both her and Karen's drinks carried the exact same creepy smell. Panic tore through the room in seconds. Everyone snapped to the same horrifying truth. The poison was hiding in the wine they served to the family's head. The butler demanded perfect drink control, but deep down the suspicions swelled, like the poison had to be hiding inside someone's own hands. William stared down the evidence and confirmed it. This poison wasn't just any toxin. It was a secret medicinal poison, forged from forbidden knowledge of a hidden race, which William laid bare. The poison traced back to the legendary Millennium Fox tribe, a mystical crew so elusive they felt like a myth. He spotted one maid's beast-like ears, then pressed her origins with razor-sharp suspicion until the tension started to crackle in the air. Startled out of her wits, the maid spun into panic and flat-out denied everything everyone was pressing her about, swearing she wasn't involved at all. Accused of lying, they forced her to drink the wine, and fear and guilt crashed across her face. Her fake calm cracked like glass, then she surged forward in a wild lunge, only to be erased in an instant before she could land a single hit. Since she'd served for 6 straight months, the maid was steady as stone, calm, dependable, and everyone in the mansion trusted her. William tied her arrival to the Gardo Company's sudden rise, and Johann was ordered to dig out intel. The feast fizzled out in silence, and the host kept apologizing as William and his allies replayed the whole incident in their minds. That earlier tease wouldn't leave her alone, so the girl grilled William right there, straight up asking what the mysterious Gardo Company really was. William broke it down. Gardo had started climbing a whole year ago, steamrolling rivals and flipping Northwood's commerce on its head. Gardo Company preyed on desperate businesses, then used ruthless, crafty expansion to snatch control of half the city. Donnie finally admitted it. Gardo ordered her to do it, and his grip had already seeped into the noble houses. Gardo dragged her family away, and when they couldn't snag William, they slammed her into an assassination plot. The incident had barely any evidence behind it, but Victor seized the moment, declaring this was their shot to blast Gardo's crimes to the whole world. William refused to step in. This was just a merchant feud, and Victor wanted to settle it himself. William didn't hesitate. He confirmed their target was the Spirit Forest, where the Holy Sword was locked away deep within. They demanded access from the Anaheim Company, and even though they dragged their feet, they finally admitted they held the reins over the forest lands. Karen teased the delay with playful words, and the room erupted into laughter. Then frustration snapped in right after, shocking everyone at the table. The noble flat-out said permission wasn't needed, yet he still handed it over gladly, just to play it by the book. Since the sword sat right inside their forest, he welcomed it with open hands and charged in to help them blaze a path forward. Damn it, William confessed he didn't have the hero's mark, but he still trusted Luna Maria's directions and headed for the Holy Sword. The girls cheered him like a hero, eyes shining, convinced his destiny was to seize the sword. Even the nobles had their doubts wiped out, because they'd never seen a boy trained and raised straight by the gods, and his potential hit them like thunder. Chaos exploded as everyone scrambled for the beds, and William stayed stone calm while the girls jostled hard to get closest. That night, bathed in moonlight, William stared off into the dark, lost in thought while the girls slept soundly right beside him. Burning with rage over their constant failures, Gardo snapped and tore into his men, furious at every setback they kept messing up. Gardo seized control of half of Northwood, and with one last move left, he was ready to wipe Anaheim from the map completely. Rage erupted in his chest as he screamed at his subordinates, blaming them for ruining the assassination and botching the kidnapping plot targeting Anaheim's family. A shadowy partner leaned in and reminded Gardo, "We've got you always," and swore he'd make good the moment he finally seized control. Gardo whipped out a mysterious Titan flute and swore it would be his last, hard-earned weapon, bought at a brutal cost to crush domination. Beneath the full moon, a glowing lantern flared to life, casting eerie light through the dense spirit forest, everything so silent, you could almost feel the trees watching. A hooded figure slipped out of the shadows alone, stalking through the forest with pure intent and a face no one could see. They stormed into the sacred clearing, dropped to their knees before the holy swords, and called forth an ancient presence that felt like it was staring right through them. Will and Luna Maria pushed through haunted sacred forest trails, closing in on their goal after hours of non-stop trudging ahead. Even though the path ahead feels strange and risky, they forge forward anyway, clinging to the belief that divine guidance is waiting for them, hidden deep in the forest. Luna Maria's eyes narrow as she senses a holy aura blasting stronger by the second, and they push forward, racing toward the legendary sword's resting place up ahead. Will stills for a breath, recalling peaceful moments with Karen, while the forest stays eerily calm, letting him sink into rare, quiet reflection. They still feel Karen's energy in the air, her chatter, her vibe, like she never truly left, even though she was only there for a short moment. With that uneasy will burning in their hearts, Luna Maria refused to break, staying hopeful and zeroing in on the legendary holy sword ahead. Pushing on with everything they've got, they finally burst into a clearing, where the holy sword gleams like it's burning with light. With mouths hanging open, they confirm it, the legendary holy sword is really there, resting on sacred stone. Out of nowhere, Levine, the knight, slashes into the scene, snapping at Will with razor-sharp words and total confidence. Levine steps up and declares himself the sword hero, claiming divine right, and yanks the sword to prove it belongs to him. Levine tells them he came solo, left his servant standing back, and flaunts his sword mastery like he already knows he'll win. Luna Maria watched in silence, clocking that Levine wasn't just there. He wanted a crowd to see him wrench the holy sword free. Rage surges through Levine as he declares the sword is his, and snaps back that nobody else can possibly take it away. Will steps up and the truth snaps into focus. He isn't the sword hero at all, he's got a whole bigger mission to fulfill. Luna Maria bursts into questions, pushing until only the true sword hero can finally pull the forest holy sword. Nothing else will do. Luna Maria explains that the holy sword might not need a typical sword hero at all. It could have its own way of choosing. Lavin smirks with total confidence, then yanks at the sword, sure it'll know he's the true rightful owner. The sword talks straight to Levine and basically tells him, "You're missing the one thing you need to wield me right." Will and Luna Maria gasp when the sword starts talking straight to the real sword hero, standing right nearby. Durandal's blade will reach out with divine blessings, and he'll recognize it's time to claim his sacred purpose here. Durandal blasts a warning to Will. He can't just yank Durandal free so easily. Then divine help crashes the scene, shocking Levine out of nowhere. Will slams into a heated sword struggle, furious it won't let him strike, and he vows, no matter what, that he'll get his chance to act. He steadies himself inch by inch, eyes locked on the sword, and braces to try drawing it, knowing with every fiber of his being it fights back like nothing else. Will clench the hilt, bracing himself as the sword demanded proof, like, "Show me your worthy asterisk." He strains with every ounce of strength to yank Durandal free, but the sword doesn't budge an inch. Durandal warns him that burning energy over and over is pointless. Rage flares, but it also drives his stubborn resolve to try harder. Will's fury spikes as he decides to unleash his full strength, no holding back, against the sword. Channeling every ounce of strength, he roars and strains with everything he's got, trying to rip Durandal free with full force. Out of nowhere, the sword twitches, just a little, and it shocks both Will and Luna Maria to their core. He accidentally yanks the holy sword right off the stone pedestal, leaving Levine and Luna Maria utterly stunned. The sword jeers at Will's wasted energy, while Levine tears into him with cruel laughter over every failed attempt. And, rage burning in him, he swears he'll give every last thing he's got, refusing to quit so easily. With a firework-level push, Will pulse again, shaking the ground and snapping everyone's shocked attention to us on the spot. Against all odds, the sword tears free from its pedestal, and Levine and Luna Maria are left staring in pure shock. Every single person goes speechless, as Will grips the Randall with a stone strapped on it, and the insane, absurd strength he's showing makes their brains short-circuit. Suddenly, Durandal snaps that an evil presence just woke up, and it's charging straight at a nearby city that has no clue. Panic rips through the city as officials shout for everyone to evacuate straight to the central shelter, right now. From the eastern forest, countless cyclops thunder into the world, one-eyed giants people once swore were nothing but legend. Their hulking forms loom over the treetops, and every thunderous step they take rattles the ground as they close in without stopping. Commanders stare in terror as they realize the giants are almost 10 meters tall, and there are way more of them than anyone predicted. The captain snaps orders to the archers, infantry, and cavalry: hold the line and keep the cyclops off the walls. Northwood's guards crash forward with unshakable grit, spears lifted high, as they slam into the oncoming cyclops, rampage to stop it dead. A soldier snaps into panic as the cyclops lashes back with brutal fury, smashing his men one after another with unstoppable raw power. Commanders bark battle plans, yelling to keep their distance as archers knock arrows. Then the soldiers scramble and leap away from the massive legs, crashing down like wrecking balls. Arrows streak from the city walls like a storm, but the Cyclops' brutal hide shrugs off most of the hits. When their strikes prove useless, the commanders snap into action and order a brutal retreat, because Cyclops unleashes devastation that rips the battlefield apart. Explosions smash across the city walls as Cyclops hurls massive trees into the streets, turning the whole place into chaos and leaving ruin in his wake. Panic erupts as another massive redhead hurls down a second tree, and the soldiers watch their defenses start to crack wider and wider. Ballista bolts scream through the air and hit dead-on, smashing straight into the Cyclops' chest, and finally tearing it open with brutal, game-ending force. The wounded giant topples backward, shattering into ruin, and for a split moment, the defenders get a tiny but priceless breath of relief. Commanders regroup in a flash, barking orders for the crossbowmen up on the towers, because they know the giant's strength crushes any small edge they've got. A ruthless mage hurls a blazing fireball, roasting the Cyclops alive and unleashing pure chaos across the battlefield. Soldiers gape in shock as a mysterious sorceress strides forward with fearless confidence, and her magic slams into the towering giant like a tidal wave. Chaos erupts as soldiers hurl themselves into desperate fights, ducking crushing blows, while terrifying cries rip across the battlefield. The skilled swordswoman rockets forward and hammers the Cyclops with savage slashes, each hit scraping and probing its brutal, thick hide. Amidst the wreckage, a young healer steps in and tears into the battlefield, suffering, mending wounded soldiers while stunning the commanders with power they never saw coming. Two women step forward like sword heroes, true companions, and their calm, reassuring presence steals the defenders' hearts. They're telling everyone around the city that adventurers have banded up for the defense, but the sword hero is still nowhere to be found, and nobody knows why. Leaders slam the battlefield into motion, begging the adventurers to team up and protect the city, while their nerves scream about the hero, who's nowhere to be found. Meanwhile, Levine barrels through the wilderness with Luna Maria in his arms, and everyone watching can't believe the sheer speed he's showing off. Even with fear for her safety, Levine pushes for speed, refusing to slow down until they reach their destination. No delays, no excuses. Levin sprints ahead, eyes blazing with pure determination, as he feels the world tilt toward what's about to hit. A divine seal that guarded the land got smashed open, and the ancient powers it trapped finally burst back into the world. The shattered seal flings him back into the past, God's holy war against the demon lord, the kind of battle the world still can't forget. Those once-sealed Cyclops and monsters are finally back, reawakening with the echoes of a brutal clash between light and darkness. Heroes huddle close, finally realizing the invasion is only the warm-up, because the ancient evil is coming back for round 2. Resurrection of ancient evil. Speculation explodes over forbidden tools that could unseal Cyclops, but Levine slams the brakes and insists it's all about something else. Worried for the city's safety, he'll shove back into motion right now, refusing to abandon anyone who's in danger. Will weighs his choices, then finally tells Levine to take the reins and cover the urgent crisis. Levine flat-out refuses, swearing he can reach the city in record time solo, no extra companions dragging him down. Their companion surges forward, offering to stay behind, while the rest dash back fast to fight and defend. Hit with sheer urgency, Will falls back on a strategy he already trusts, remembering the same technique that once worked during his mother's exam. Lifting Luna Maria with total confidence, he reassures his companions that his stamina is rock solid and that he can barrel through the forest at full speed without losing control. With grit blazing in his chest, he charges into the race against every challenge, swearing he'll be the first to reach endangered city. He puts his trust in his companions, vows he'll be back, and crashes straight into saving the city. As the sprint hits the wild, Worry claws deep into Karen and everyone else who's holding the city line against the Cyclops. Inside the city, Karen gets snatched out of nowhere, and the crisis detonates, while Will sprints back, desperate and burning with urgency. The room felt like it was pressing down on his chest, so he paced, jaw clenched, while an unsettling dread churned and grew inside him. A deafening crash tore through the silence, and when he looked out, he saw the huge commotion pounding in the distance. His suspicions kept exploding, because this invasion couldn't be a fluke. Too many weird things were snapping into place, one after another, at breakneck speed. Panic hung in the air as the servant barreled in, shouting that evacuation was instantly necessary. As they sprinted to the carriage, he realized the young lady had already slipped away with the others. The door explodes inward as the enemies swarm closer, while the young lady gets yanked into a hostage grip. A man bellows, pushing the hostage's father to move now, and the pressure snaps tighter as the threat cranks up. The young woman trembles and blurts, "Father," as she rushes to apologize. She's terrified she's only adding weight to all this chaos. The father clenches his teeth as rage and grief twist together, and his daughter pays the price because of these intruders. He throws in the towel, and once that heavy choice crushes down on him, he vows to obey their every demand. He demands his daughter be freed right now, and he spits that she's just a pawn in this game. The enemy leader smirks like he's been waiting for this, confirms his gut feeling, and then spills the real reason he launched the invasion. Panic snaps into him as he realizes, after everything they've fought through, there's no way that girl gets away. Rage erupts in his father's chest, then he lashes out and charges forward, fueled by pure fury. His strike whiffs as the enemy snaps into motion, and suddenly the whole fight spirals into a brutal, dangerous collision. The moment that blade snaps out of its sheath, violence erupts again. Then the enemy charges straight at him, looking to finish it. A man screams in sheer panic as his eyes snap to the swordsman charging in to strike. Then the man watching made a sharp remark about the servant's skill, realizing that this decorative sword was packed with real danger. The enemy sneers at his opponent, spitting out cruel taunts for failing, while hiding behind his daughter as a human shield. Rage boils in the father's veins, and he lunges at the enemy with his sword, ready to cut down anything that threatens his family. He weighs the danger in his head, and if his daughter's safety is on the line, he's ready to give up everything without hesitation. The servant gives a quick nod, but his face betrays doubt. He's not sure what dangers could come next. The carriages lurch forward, and outside the air turns razor-thick with tension as everyone holds their breath, waiting for the next move. Rage explodes when the enemy mistreats the daughter, and the father snaps for immediate action. The enemy leader coldly proposes tossing the servant aside, and that choice shoves them forward with even more danger closing in. The family's leader cooks up a cover-up plan for the head's disappearance, then braces, ready to strike the moment it's time. The carriages thunder onward, hauling the group toward their destination as the urgency ratchets up every single second. The carriage wheels tear across the road at full speed, hauling the whole group farther from their blazing, burning home. The servant's frustration spikes as he turns to the young lady, and with one question on his tongue, suspicion hangs heavy in the air. The moment the question lands, she freezes, standing her ground but dodging the truth like it's too terrifying to face. The servant steps up to coolly and admits, straight out, that he was hired for the job, while the leader's suspicion spikes higher, and he starts barking harder demands. Karen clamped her lips shut, eyes blazing with resolve, because she knew she couldn't move until the exact right moment. Her father speaks softly, asking if she's really okay after apologizing for his failures, and she reassures him. Even with Karen's calm face, a tiny spark of hope clings to her. She's biding her time, praying the moment finally comes to break free. As the talk drags on, a shocking ally steps in and drops that they're fighting for the same thing, sending the whole scene into instant, razor-tight tension. The servant finally answers coolly, straight up admitting he's working for the job, and right away the leader's suspicion spikes as he presses for more. Karen clamps her lips shut, eyes locked with pure determination, because she knows she has to wait for the perfect opening. Her father asks, softly but worried, if she's really okay apologizing for his own failures, and she rushes to reassure him. Even with that calm on her face, Karen clings to a tiny spark of hope, waiting for the exact moment she can slip out and escape. As the chat drags on, a surprise ally steps in and drops the same fierce vow. Suddenly, the whole scene tightens with tension. The heroes brace themselves for battle as a colossal menace closes in, and pure determination hardens their resolve. A towering monster barrel rolls toward the city wall, and the whole army scrambles, arms flying into position, defenses getting slammed together in panic. As the perfect moment crashes in, the allies snap into action, attacks ready, breath held, gearing up to land the final strike. The giant crashes down, but the fight isn't finished. Then their hard work gets rewarded with roaring cheers from the crowd. Players lock in one more opponent pinned down, while the hero's smile says it all. Their teamwork just wiped out another threat. A thunderous punch slams down, blasting rubble everywhere as the heroes fight tooth and nail against the giants, crushing unstoppable might. As the fight rages on, soldiers get shouted into action, distract the titans, hold them back, and keep the wounded alive. Even with injuries tearing them up, some brave soldiers sprinted into harm's way, throwing their bodies between the danger and their comrades. Wounded soldiers get hauled to the healers, their screams ripping through the air while medics scramble like their lives depend on it, because they do. A soldier barrels ahead, shouting for reinforcements, while chaos crashes all around as those towering giants hammer at the walls. Fatigue crashes over the soldiers as titan after titan barrels through relentless wave after relentless wave. There's no stopping the swarm. The city walls are shaking under the giants' relentless push, and it feels like they're about to rip straight through them. With pure grit, a warrior grabs control and vows to crush the endless assault once and for all. With the battlefield exploding all around them, a young mage frantically yells for help, because deep down, she's terrified she won't survive. The heroes barreled in, blades screaming as they sprinted straight ahead to shield the helpless mage. The young heroes huddle side by side, eyes locked forward, ready to smash the next challenge with pure, unshakable grit. The crew erupts in cheers, stunned at how fast that giant got wiped out by the duo. Spectators stare in disbelief, whispering, "Who are these mysterious heroes?" Because they just crushed the titan way too easily. At last, the warrior's true identities spill out. Levine, the sword hero, and his razor-talented companion, finally stepping into the spotlight. For now, the city walls are still standing, but this battle isn't even close to finished, and danger is lurking right around the corner. The heroes suddenly lock eyes on it, Cyclops Corps, the very monster crew that once tore the land apart. Right when the crew starts trading strategy, their talk gets blown apart by the cheerful sweep-in of the heroes' girls. Even with exhaustion weighing on them, the soldiers don't slow down. They trade worried looks as they see the giants multiplying. Lavin and the others lock eyes, make their promise loud and clear, and swear they'll take down the Cyclops monsters together. Right when everyone relaxes, Luna Maria blurts that something's been haunting her, and the whole group suddenly feels the weight of it. Luna Maria unveils the most likely culprit behind the massive invasion, and drops the bombshell that this wasn't some random coincidence at all. Tension snaps tight when Luna Maria clocks it. This giant invasion is just a smokescreen for something far worse lurking behind the scenes. The heroes are on edge as that dreadful feeling tightens the air. Karen and everyone else could be in serious danger. Levin fires back sharply at Luna Maria's worry, but the danger is so massive he can't afford to brush it off. Will snaps into command, barking at Luna Maria to handle the healing while the rest lock in on the fight. Levine flashes unshakable confidence, yanks his sword free, and charges in, ready to face the relentless enemy all by himself. With a battle cry tearing through the air, Levine charges the monsters, rallying everyone around him as the fight finally ignites. A young woman grips a bouquet of flowers and stands poised, while Will and Levine lock in, ready to charge into battle. The sword hero steps in, and the soldiers erupt in awe, faces lighting up, as they realize just how brutally strong he is. Under Levine's command, the soldiers surge forward with fearless confidence, smashing toward the looming giants, fueled by fresh, blazing resolve. The mood flips instantly. Once morale returns, everyone's spirits soar because they finally know they've got a leader they can count on. The battle cranks up in an instant. He snaps into action on the spot, while the others rush in right behind him to follow. A soldier jolts back when a boy drops off the wall in a flash, stunned and not knowing who he even is. The boy blurted out he was ready to defend the city, then begged for just one moment so he could leave. The boy leaps down, and the soldiers snap into shock, stunned that he can hit the ground safely. The boy rockets down deserted streets, praying the residents were evacuated just in time. Dashing up to the city gates, the boy barrels ahead, blazing with determination to find the next move. Will throws himself at the door from outside, pounding and calling out, desperate to get back together with the others. The second Will steps in, he freezes, spins around, and shouts for Karen and Victor, only to find the place eerily empty. Just as he searches, a child suddenly bursts into view, sprinting toward him with pure relief and shouting his name. A terrified kid shakes as they beg Will for help, spilling the horrifying truth about what they're facing. Desperation crashes through the child's voice as they beg, pleading for something, anything, to save Lady Karen and their master. Will hears it straight from the kid. Karen and the others were snatched by the Gardo company. The kid tells everything, how they spotted Karen and watched the master get dragged off in a carriage. Will reassures the child, pressing comfort into every word, then grits his teeth and vows to track down Karen and the master no matter what. With resolve in our hearts, we'll swear we'll save every last one of them. Then we strike right away. Determined as ever, Will bolts to save Karen, yanking himself toward a city map so he can hunt down the Gardo company. The girl sprints down the street, screaming for Levine, while panic claws tighter with every step. Desperately, she screams Levine's name into the silence, but the street stays eerily quiet and completely empty. She freezes thinking Levine could be anywhere, and races through every route he might have taken. While she spirals in thought, she suddenly remembers Levine's serious stare, like something heavy was grinding in his head. With panic rising in her chest, she sprints, praying she can find Levine before time runs out for Karen. The girl nursing her aching back after that brutal fall is in sharp pain, but her determination won't quit. Carriages roar through the street, their reckless speed sparking instant panic. She storms up to the mansion, freezes at the empty halls, and can't stop wondering where Levine and everyone else vanished to. She's suddenly stranded, panicking as she wonders whether Levine could have slipped into some other part of the city. As she clocks the chaos exploding, the folks in the carriage square up, ready to take on someone big. The Gardo company's leader, dressed in luxury and dripping with smugness, lounges in comfort while he needles his captive with cruel taunts. The leader yanks his captive down to his knees, but the prisoner fights back with pure fury, sparking a brutal, no-holds-barred clash. He lifts his sword high to the sky, swearing he'll break every Anaheim family member out of their prison. Down in the dark depths beneath Anaheim, that father and his daughter are shackled by magic, trapped and waiting, while cruel execution looms. The daughter shrieks in terror as soldiers yank her forward, and she can't look away from her father's beating right in front of her. A brutal warrior sneers at Anaheim's pain, cackling while he crushes him with pure, overpowering brute strength. As chaos erupts and monsters crash into the city, Gardo stays locked on one thing: his personal vengeance. Gardo yanks Anaheim up by the hair, hauling him off the ground like a sack, so he can keep battering him with cruel, ruthless force. Anaheim is grilling Gardo about whether he unleashed the ancient giants, because if he did, the whole city's safety is on the line. Realization slams into Anaheim, hard, because Gardo planned the whole thing, grinning while his allies stood mute in the shadows. Gardo grins as he admits he shattered the seal to unleash the giants, and claims he's the mastermind behind the whole catastrophe. Anaheim doesn't waste time. It demands answers and blasts a warning. If that giant keeps rampaging, it'll tear the whole city apart from the inside out. Gardo finally drops the truth. He's going to seize control of the city, and he'll burn it down to get it. He seals Anaheim's worst nightmare. If the giants ever smash through the city walls, they'll level everything in their path. Gardo flips the whole situation on its head. If the giants stick to his route, he can command them like they're his. Anaheim warns the giants who once served the demon lord. Humans must never touch that kind of catastrophic power. Gardo finally uncovers the key, an evil cursed relic called the Giant's Flute. Gardo flaunts the flute's price and swears it gives him total control over the giant army. He plots to unleash the giants on Anaheim's eastern faction, smashing everything so hard that chaos erupts and the economy collapses. His own company, the Gardo Group, will bankroll the rebuild. Then it tightens the grip, soaking up power and turning citizens into total dependence. With riches and sway at his fingertips, Gardo dreams bigger every day, taking over the capital and becoming the world's top merchant. Gardo declares Anaheim outdated, then vows to crush every rival company and seize the city as its undisputed ruler. Gardo taunts Anaheim to his face, refusing to finish him, yet so he can savor every drop of his suffering and humiliation. And the daughter erupts in screams as guards yank her into restraints, watching utterly helpless as her father gets beaten violently again. Anaheim crumples, soaked in blood, but Gardo rips out one cruel order: stay alive, because he's not finished making you pay. Anaheim staggers through the pounding assault, barely holding on, while his daughter's rage burns, trapped and viciously restrained all the same. Gardo lets anyone do whatever they want to her, especially when it shatters Anaheim's will right in front of her eyes. Gardo's cruel scheme gets ripped apart. He's thrown backward when a stranger smashes through the window mid-attack. Will crashes in like a storm, smashing down hard through shattered glass, his eyes blazing with razor-sharp rage he refuses to lose. Karen bursts into tears of relief, then calmly apologizes for being late as the rescue hangs by a thread. Will sprinted across the rooftops, blazing forward, desperate to uncover where the Gardo company had taken them. Victor slams the intel on him, multiple enemy bases, and Will realizes time is running out before tragedy strikes. Will suddenly runs into Levine again, and for a split heartbeat, hope flickers bright in the middle of all this chaos. They trade notes on the latest moves, and Levine's name comes up, because during the Giants' assault on the eastern wall, he threw his weight into the defenses. Did those strange Will questions about a missing carriage hit a nerve? Because they might finally link it to the kidnapped Anaheim family. Lynx just confirmed he saw a fast carriage tearing down a narrow road a few moments ago. As soon as he sees the signal, he bolts into action, sprinting off right away to grab it before it's too late. Levine catches the battle roaring in the distance and barrels east, hellbent on rejoining Hirosama and throwing in to help. Will charges onto the battlefield, and both his allies and his enemies instantly spot him, because they've crossed paths before. Karen screams that her father has collapsed, her voice cracking as she can't ignore the pain and the urgency in the moment. With explosive force, Will surges forward, rattling the ground and leaving Gardo's men utterly blindsided. A wave of raw power surges off him, crushing the air and even stunning seasoned veterans. Every eye locks onto his approach. Gardo snaps to it and admits his mistake. Then he realizes Will isn't some ordinary kid, and the battlefield tension spikes like a live wire. A swordsman named Mashima strides up with total confidence, and straight up declares he's Will's next opponent. No hesitation, no fear. Will spots Mishima's katana, and instantly recognizes it as the same blade his mentor once wielded. Mishima snaps into motion, unleashing a brutal flurry of slashes as his blade cuts fiery arcs through the air. He stayed ice calm, eyes locked in, and swatted every attack aside with razor-precise timing and rock-solid strength. Will charges in hard, but Mishima's lightning-fast counterattack snaps him into an unexpected mid-air dodge. Mishima clocks the hesitation in Will's stance and realizes his opponent still hasn't even drawn a single weapon. He admits Will's lightning speed and slick agility, but he's certain that still won't be enough to take the win. A brutal slash from a legendary blade tore through the air, so fast it left the nearby onlookers stunned. Mishima throws down the gauntlet, bragging his draw technique is twice as fast, and even swears he's quicker than anyone else out there. A fearless warrior surges ahead with his sword bared, just as deadly enemies set up an ambush from above. Blood erupts across the ground as allies shriek, right as hope seems to collapse under Mishima's brutal technique. Mishima jerks back, screaming his lungs out, because the flames still scorch his face even after he lands that clean hit. Will stands unhurt, staring straight at Mishima. Then Mishima's fury erupts when he realizes he's been completely outplayed. Every own watch hangs in stunned disbelief. His Will dodges like a blur, landing perfect moves that still slash Mishima and draw blood, even with the sword's deadly speed. Mishima breaks down his katana technique, smirking like, no one here can match this kind of precision. Will lets it slip that a samurai trained him, one of the 3 deadliest combat masters he ever knew. With pride blazing in his chest, Will declares that his teacher is the strongest swordsman the world has ever seen. Mishima slams Will's claim down as pure fiction, then bursts forward to finish the fight for good. Their collision detonates at full speed. Will snaps in a critical strike just before Mashima completes his deadly swing. Doubt surged in Mishima's head, as he couldn't wrap his mind around how some kid had outplayed his polished, perfected technique. Avery's swing landed nowhere as the opponent juked and twisted unpredictably, shattering Mishima's rhythm and precision completely. Mishima was still mid-motion when he suddenly disappeared. Then the young attacker dropped in from above, smashing down with a crushing hit that broke Mishima's stance wide open. Eyes went wide as the master crumpled to the ground, blood on his face, stunned beyond words by the sheer speed, raw force and technique no one could match. A jolt of shock tore through the crowd as Mishima crushed the battle, and the young warrior stood there, calm, victorious, and unshaken. Rage twisted his face as he blurted out his ambition, then charged ahead with violent, reckless determination. From the shadows, he unleashed his soldiers, and they surged around the youth while his allies screamed his name in sheer panic. Moonlight flashed on steel as masked warriors swarmed in from every side, sealing off every last route to escape. Even as the situation squeezed tighter and tighter, the enemy leader stayed stone calm and flashed a grin, banking on his crushing numbers and a secret edge he knew you couldn't see. A crystal exploded in his grip, and a blinding surge of power shot straight up into the heavens. Gargoyle statues split open and tore themselves free of their own stone cages. Then glowing eyes snapped awake, glaring down with terrifying, wordless intent. Dozens of monsters dived out of the sky, boxing the boy in from every side as soldiers sealed off every escape route. With a smug grin, the villain dangled mercy in front of them, pledge your loyalty, swallow your pride, and go down without a fight." With a gentle smile, the youth reassured Karen that she and Victor were safe, swearing he'd get them both out. The command to kill snapped like a thunderclap. Blades erupted from every direction and screamed toward him. Enemies halted mid-swing as a brutal blast tore through, blasting armored bodies skidding across the wrecked battlefield floor. Waves of raw power surged upward, shredding gargoyles out of the sky, and the young hero strolled right through the wreckage like it wasn't even there. Momentum never let up. His blade snapped into motion again, cutting through the last of their resistance with one unstoppable surge forward. Gasp after gasp filled the air as dozens crumpled, unconscious, broken, and untouchable, leaving everyone staring in stunned silence at what should have been impossible. With unwavering confidence, he strode in calm and certain, telling the last enemies to accept defeat now, before this hopeless fight drags on any longer. A terrified enemy snatched Karen mid-scream and reminded everyone that hostages were still trapped under his twisted control. Makri's grin curdled into arrogance as he gloated and dared to threaten her life, trying to shatter the young warrior's resolve. Right behind the captors, a calm presence suddenly appeared, his sword lifted, and his face never flinched at the threats or the fear. Karen gasped when Johan finally burst through, alive, unveiling his escape and his stealthy infiltration in the middle of the battle chaos. Tears cracked his hardened stare, flooding him with relief and gratitude. This was redemption, and one last shot to finish the duty he'd been craving. Right as the traitor lunged for revenge, he snapped into action and caught the strike mid-step. No hesitation at all. A counterstrike snapped in fast and dead-on, ending the fight for good in one final, irreversible silence. Rope snapped loose from her arms as Karen burst forward, shaking with pure disbelief, like freedom had finally torn its way into her life. Tears spilled down her face as she hugged him tight, clinging to the one belief that he'd come for her, no matter what. With Victor gravely injured, Will grabbed their attention and promised healing was right around the corner, pushing them to hold tight to comfort and hope. Laughter burst out of the villain's bloodied mouth as he pushed himself up, snarling that he'd never accept total defeat. Veins bulged along his face as dark energy roared through him, screaming that this final strike would come, no matter the cost. The enemy's laughter boomed through the air as Will and his allies braced themselves, holding the line and shielding the fallen. Luna Maria strode in, declared their victory, and reminded him, clear as day, that the company's ambitions had already been crushed once and for all. Defiant finally showed everyone the forbidden giant's whistle, grinning like it was victory, then promised to wreck them all. A monstrous giant finally snapped awake. Its one glaring eye burst open as the whistle's power ripped through the world, unleashing pure devastation. The whistle's warning hit them, and panic detonated. Their enemies swore they'd go down together, dragging mutual destruction into their lives. Will surged forward like a cannon blast, ripping toward the enemy to crush their madness before the devastation finally hit. He barreled through the magical barriers, eyes locked on his target, surging forward at breakneck speed to land a decisive blow on his desperate opponent. Will slammed the enemy to the ground, shattered their armor, and left his allies staring in shock at how brutally unstoppable he was. Corruption of war ripped into him on the whistle, his body contorted into something grotesque as his life bled out and madness swallowed every thought. Luna Maria sank in crushing regret, blaming herself for not stopping the whistle, even though she'd pushed so hard earlier. Violent tremors ripped through the battlefield, and Will stared at the shaking ground, knowing the giant was coming, and every soul around him felt their fear spike. Johan slammed for evacuation, while Will cradled Victor's wounds, then promised to come back and help brace the castle walls. Soldiers scrambled for cover as Luna Maria barked orders, get the wounded out before the structures toppled. Giants tore through the fortress walls, crushing the defenders' resolve, while the veterans fought back with everything they had to keep the line from breaking. Fierce Warrior charged straight into the giants, swung in brutal strikes, and taunted them with zero fear, forcing every one of them to lock onto him. Ali sings Levine's praises as everyone bands together, because his swordsmanship sparks pure confidence against those crushing giants. Giants were smashed down hard, crumpling to the ground, as Levine's non-stop assault carved brutal openings in their defenses. He erupted with pure rage, smashing through the enemies with relentless resolve, until not a single one walked away unscathed. Levin's blade screamed through a giant's body, and his unshakable resolve burned bright through the blood-soaked chaos. The words of his father's encouragement echoed in Levine's head, cutting straight back to the path he'd sworn to walk as a swordsman. When Levine was just a kid, he swore to himself he'd grow stronger, desperate to outshine his father's sword skills. Standing his ground, he lunged at the giants without a shred of fear, shouting for them to show their power against his blade. Levine raised the sword's heroics like a rallying cry, and the soldiers surged together, courage sparking in every chest. The army finally locked in, because they knew the only way to save their city was to smash the giants. Steel blades and sharp arrows crashed into the giants again and again, ripping through their defenses as the warriors fought tooth and nail just to keep their ground. Giants smashed the battlefield with boulder after boulder, cracking defenses open, while soldiers fought tooth and nail just to survive the non-stop barrage. Projectiles tore across the battlefield, detonating chaos everywhere as warriors scrambled, barely dodging the crushing hits. Levine surged ahead, breathing hard but refusing to back down, smashing his head into the giant's crushing strike. Ali surged in too, blasting magic and steel in perfect sync, battering the giants with non-stop counterattacks. Levine's determination flared to life as he lined up his final blow on the last surviving giant. Lavin slammed in a ruthless blow, tearing through the giant's body with unstoppable force and pure, unshakable resolve. The battlefield exploded with cheers as soldiers reveled in victory, giants were crushed, and hope surged back to life. Levin stood tall like a banner, comrades gripping him close, while relief and admiration thundered through the crowd. Suddenly, violent tremors ripped through the ground again, and panic surged back as everyone froze in shock across the war-scarred field. Soldiers stood frozen in shock as eerie movements churned up from the far-off mountains, casting a looming shadow. The mountains shook violently, like the earth itself was cracking open, because something enormous was about to wake up underground. A colossal monstrosity burst out of stone and rubble, towering over everything with a presence so monstrous it made the air feel heavy. Soldiers suddenly lost their nerve when they saw the Cyclops leader, towering over every giant they'd ever faced. Next, we stride forward with steady hearts, no doubt left, ready to face the terrifying threat looming right in front of everyone. A colossal Cyclops rests in a secret forest cave, while a lone eagle circles above, cutting the sky with its cry. Suddenly, the Cyclops stirs nearby, and every adventurer freezes. Terror hits first as their minds scramble to understand how something like this even exists. They finally clocked it. The monster had been snoozing right by the city, hidden and unseen for countless years. When they stack his old battles up, even the bravest soldiers tremble, because this Cyclops makes every other giant look puny, weak, and laughably small. A wave of panic ripples through the ranks, and one soldier starts shaking, realizing that this ancient monster could be their next nightmare. Panic rockets through the soldiers as they refuse to step up to the Cyclops' roar, because they're convinced it's certain death. Panic detonates, warriors drop their weapons and bolt, scrambling to claw their way out of the doomed city alive. One girl opens her mouth to speak, but her companion slams a hand up for silence and jabs toward the monster. Everyone finally gets it. No magic, no raw power, and no lone hero's effort can bring that giant down by himself. Even the most battle-tested adventurers will tell you one brutal truth. Retreat fast, staying alive beats throwing your life away in some pointless, dying-for-nothing display of bravery. Three girls creep up on a mysterious armored figure, trembling as they beg him to greet them, like their last, desperate hope. A young girl snaps to a stop, eyes wide as the armored figure arrives, silent, ruthless, and somehow impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, soldiers huddle and stare, their nerves snapping as the Cyclops freezes, its huge body utterly still since it first woke up. They're terrified it'll lunge any second. Its monstrous size could wipe out the whole fortress in one strike. A lone soldier broods in bitter silence, because the adventurers who once helped them are gone, and now it's just them standing before pure terror. The city guards are left all by themselves, shaking with panic, feeling totally useless, and staring down the unstoppable Cyclops like survival's already slipping away. A commander strides in, whips the remaining troops into formation, and demands their full attention, then braces them for the final orders that could change everything. Their fresh mission, evacuate the city's people while fighting, falls apart fast, because right now the only thing that matters is saving lives. The Cyclops just stares, silent and smiling, but the second it finally moves, that monstrous grin promises chaos is about to explode. Soldiers and civilians bolt at full speed, no time to think, just pure instinct to survive. As the alarms scream, dread crashes over the hero. This monster's intent is pure, paralyzing destruction, and it hits like a wall. He remembers his fate. He's been chosen to become the great hero, and he'll face the impossible darkness alone. A voice snaps at him. He trembles in silence, not sure if courage is still alive in his heart. A childhood memory snaps back. His father's raw strength floods his mind, and the dream of becoming a sword-wielding hero ignites again. He flashes back to childhood tales, heroes standing tall against impossible odds, never backing down, no matter how brutal the threat got. A cruel shadow of doubt hammers the hero, roaring that he's got no strength left to rise again. Suddenly, a girl latches onto him, begging with all her heart, and shouting that he's the great hero the world desperately needs. He jerks awake from the dark vision, stunned and lost, not knowing what was real, or what was just his own fear wearing a mask. Barely standing but still awake, he waves off the worry, saying it's just exhaustion, not injury, not hesitation. With the guards and adventurers gone, only the hero and his companions are left huddled by the wall. He clamps both hands around his sword, swallowing the truth like it's a blade. His resolve has to be forged right here, and then his. His allies shout for a retreat, reminding him they're wrecked and running on fumes after every fight they've already survived. He barely manages to think, before he can even answer, when a familiar voice bursts in at just the worst possible time, and the person who shows up is someone he never expected. Lynx, a girl everyone forgot for a moment, suddenly comes bursting back, shaken by the dead Cyclops, and blurts out how frantic her search really was. As she flees, she can't stop replaying it, seeing the monster's towering form up close, searing itself into her memory forever. Lynx explains that while everyone else was running for their lives, the Cyclops stayed powered up, untouched, unchallenged, until the panic started to grow. Even with fear clawing at them, the others can't stop asking, what's left to do when even the great hero crumbled? With defiant eyes blazing, Lynx declares there's still a way to stop the Cyclops. She drops a legend that the holy sword sealed away, and tells them it might be their last, final hope. Hearing those words, the hero freezes, eyes wide with awe, disbelief crashing through him, and a fresh blaze of determination ignites. Lynx bursts in with a secret. The holy sword is buried somewhere in the East Forest, and only the true hero can claim it. Others still remember while showing up with Master Levine right on his heels, while Levine grilled him over what he really wanted, and who he truly meant to stand with. A dedicated supporter shouts at Levine to seize the sword, like it's the fate waiting for him right now. Overwhelmed, Levine screams in agony and denial, swearing he'll never measure up to that sword. A girl steps up, grief swimming in her eyes, and demands to know where Levine really was that morning. Levine finally admits it. He bombed the Holy Sword trial because brute strength alone just wasn't enough. Pinned under crushing expectations, he looks back and remembers how thorns of doubt wrapped around his chest, smothering the fight right out of him. Levine shoves off the help, screaming in agony as stones explode around him from the chaos inside his chest. Through the chaos, he rips the sword free at last, and the moment he does, everyone's stunned, because his power is undeniable. When the light finally fades, they spot it, Levine's symbol, proof that he's the real hero of the sword. A battered warrior rips off their blindfold, boom, revealing a secret identity that leaves their allies frozen in stunned silence. The whole group freezes when they finally clock it. Master Levine, the warrior they trusted, is a woman in disguise. One companion strides up, demanding answers for the shocking reveal, and for how they vanished from the battlefield so suddenly. They press her for answers, why she kept everything secret, what her real gender is, why she vanished without a word, and whether their friendship was ever real in the first place. No reply came, so they snapped to it, drawing their weapons and gearing up to strike the very friend they used to call their own. Out of nowhere, one companion swings a slap across Levine's face, and all that buried anger and heartbreak over the hidden truths finally bursts out. Tears welling up, she snaps that she's leaving, shattered by Levine's brutal silence and his betrayal of the trust they built together. One more companion whispers an apology, but there's nothing they can do, because the decision is already set, and that painful emotional gap keeps widening. Just as everyone starts to drift away, a younger girl snaps into panic and begs them to stay, shredded by the fight in her heart. She pushes Levine to finally speak up, convinced one clear explanation could keep everyone from turning their back and walking away. As the girl clutches Levine's arm, his trembling eyes spill out the buried rage, along with guilt and a crushing exhaustion. He blasts his screams, shoves her back, and snaps that heroism is a lie, then orders her to vanish like all the others. Alone, Levine clenches his fists as sorrow, rejection, and a truth he can't outrun crush down on him. Meanwhile, the crew steels themselves to leave the city, raw with confusion, crushed by sadness, and split by broken trust. Suddenly, somewhere else, a monstrous entity erupts from the dark, its massive body fully awakening.